I'm going to get to how misunderstood you were when you were deputy FBI director.
So we walked into this total shit show, this Biden mess, you know, illegals everywhere. The FBI focused on locking up Donald Trump and not bad guys.
My audience is going to really be happy you're back on the air. They're going to want to know a little bit of the inside story. And you said to me, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that don't want me back on the air.
Oh, yeah. And then you had this other FBI, which was populated with, to say, unfortunately, snakes as being nice. And here's the problem, Sean. It wasn't always obvious which FBI they were in. I can't only do one thing. I can't be, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. I have to be master of all trades, jack of none, because I can't screw any of these things up.
You know, there are some shows that I'm just excited to do, and this is one of them. Why? Because he's one of my dearest friends, somebody I have such deep, profound respect for, one of the most loyal guys you'll ever meet. You know him, former deputy FBI director, great, incredible host in his own right. You know him well from my shows. Dan Bongino.
Sean.
Thanks for hanging out with us, brother.
It's great.
But you want to play pool later or what?
I'm terrible at pool. And it's crazy because my family owned a bar growing up. And you would think I'd be better at this whole, I'm good at Joker poker. That game, that's about it. But pool,
You don't play pool?
No, I'm terrible. I used to get smoked in the family bar.
I'm horrible at the dart game. I can't hit that.
Darts, I'm no, but only Joker poker. My mother used to let me play Joker poker in the bar. That's back then when they'd give you money if you won, and then we found out it was illegal.
Lindsey Graham, you and me, we all have that in common. I mean, I was tending bar at 17, but I was washing dishes at 12 till 2 in the morning.
I grew up in a bar. Remember Wise potato chips?
Oh,
they were
hell yeah.
25 cents a bag.
You can still get them.
And we owned this bar at 64th Place in Myrtle. Gibby was my grandfather's nickname. And after school, I'd bring some of the kids and I'd be like, hey, watch, this is cool. And the bartender's name was Vinny. I'd be like, hey, Vinny, give my friends free potato chips. They thought it was like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's when the neighborhood bar, guys used to come in the morning before work, have like a beer and an egg sandwich, and then they'd show up again after work.
Back then, there was a Boilermaker. It was a beer and a shot.
A beer. And you know what? No one was shooting up schools and stuff. It was like, there was like a sense of neighborhood camaraderie, you know? Like everybody knew each other. Like, oh yeah, that's Tony from the temple down the block, and that's Joey from the church, and that's
everybody
right?
knew each other, you know?
Yeah.
All right. You gave the scariest warning I've ever read, and you put up a truth. No, it was an ex post. I'm going to get to that in the course of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to how misunderstood you were when you were deputy FBI director. And there's a whole story. I'll tell this audience about a private conversation we had and how dumb people are. And that gets to maybe where we should start. When you told me, let's be blunt, when you were going in, Sean, I'm in for a year. I'm giving up a very successful career, radio talk shows, podcast. You're kicking ass. You're a business guy. You're doing great. You gave up a lot. But you said to me at the time, I'm probably 1 year and out. I just want to go in, serve, help as best I can, and get things on the right track. True?
Yeah, I was pretty clear with Cash and them from the start that I used to tell him the line, I'll flip the calendar for you. I'll come in, I'll get to January, and we'll get all this done. I knew what we had to do, whether it was training reforms, we had to get rid of a lot of bad apples, reorienting the FBI back to violent crime. Like I had a mission going in there. So I didn't go in there and, you know, think of it as we went along. I went in there with a notebook full of things I knew we had to do to fix it. But yeah, it was always going to be like flip the calendar was the line. So it was kind of weird when I left to hear a lot of this like nonsense conspiracy theory stuff. Like, you know, I saw this article. This is how crazy it is. There's an article in The Root, which is some left-leaning outlet. And it says something like people who've turned on Trump since they left. And it said, Dan Bongino. I said, really? I'm reading the article. This is fascinating. I love the president. Like, and I'm reading, and he left, and there's like these 10 different reasons, and none of it's actually true. I left because I was going to flip the calendar and then, you know, when we got the pipe bomb case in December, which was kind of like I had this list of things I wanted to get done. You know, we had kind of wrapped a lot of that up. And then, I called the president, who's always the best. And he said, cause he's just such a great guy. And he said, yeah, I know, Dan, January. He said, you know, I want to be the first guest on your show. And I got to tell you, I thought he was kidding about that.
It's real.
And then February, so a month goes by, I'm getting my show back together, and we get a call from his office, and they're like, No, he was serious. He really wants to be the first guest on the show.
He meant it.
He's just the best, man. I love him.
Well, you just saw him at UFC. What'd you guys speak for 25 minutes?
Oh, it was the best. So I was leaving and he's obviously, he sits ring side. Like, matter of fact, he sits like in the ring, like next to Joe Rogan. Yeah. So I'm in row 2 back there. Right in front of me is Zach Brown, a country singer. And I'm sitting next to Vanilla Ice, Rob.
He's a good guy.
Oh, the nicest guy. Yeah. Could not have been. And then they're playing like Ice Ice Baby. We're chatting. So I had seen him. He had shaken my hand. And we just had something. I was talking to Rubio a little bit. He was in the front row, and Scavino. And as I'm getting ready to leave, I was going to go shake his hand to say goodbye. And this, not Secret Service, this security guy's like, no, you can't go through here. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go around the other side. And the Secret Service guys let me through. So we chatted for, a good 20 minutes. And he's just like, he's the best, man.
You know, it was funny because when you announced that you were going to be going back to work, I called you and the first thing I'm like, yes, you got to do radio. You got to do TV. My audience is going to really be happy you're back on the air. They're going to want to know a little bit of the inside story. And you said to me, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that don't want me back on the air.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you actually fulfilled that promise.
I got to tell you, I was really disappointed. I mean, I've been in the business now, thanks to you. And, you're funny. Before the show, I'm like, listen, you're like, thanks for doing this. I said to folks, I go, Sean, don't thank me. Like, I wouldn't be here without you. You can be humble all you want. Doesn't matter. You and Levin, I have no career. No. You let me guest host your show when I was like Joey Bag of Donuts and no one knew me from that.
Joey Bag of Donuts?
Yeah. So, you've been a friend for decades now. And I've known you, since 2011 when I started running. You let me come on as a candidate when nobody knew who I was. I mean, you introduced me to the conservative world, and you have never given me bad advice. You've never not returned a phone call, not returned a text. Levin's the same way. Yeah. The most loyal friends I've had. I'm going to tell you, like, honestly, genuinely, candidly stunned that the second I left, my friend Brendan Dilley put out this tweet, and he goes, watch. He goes, give it a week and people are going to turn on Bongino, who want his audience. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't believe it. We were gone a week and they're like, why didn't you arrest, this guy, that guy? Brother, I didn't even swear in yet. Like, it took me like 3 weeks to get the whole process going. And I couldn't believe it.
My favorite was reading your CIA operative.
CIA
That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, this guy's an inside deep. I was like, what kind of bullshit is this? Like, how quickly people turned. And it was so disingenuous. And the thing about being on the inside is, you talk to the boss a lot. Is when you're on the inside, it's not about you. It's about the president. It's about the administration. So you can't defend yourself. And I got to tell you, man, I was like champing at the bit there. I could not wait to get back and be like, I'm just going to blast these sons.
I'm going to get to that because I have a quote of yours when people say you changed. I'm like, that is such bullshit. I have known you too long.
Yeah.
And when there were people in the government that I trusted, yeah. I've known Cash a long time. I've known you forever.
Yeah.
You are one of the most loyal friends you could ever want to have in life.
Thanks, buddy.
And, you built your success, and it's got to be frustrating. Here's part of the problem. A lot of people are jealous of you. Think about it. You're successful. You come back on the air, boom, skyrocket right out of the box. Yeah, when you were coming back on the air, I called you got to do radio, got to do TV, all of this. Here's the truth, though, and tell me if I'm wrong. We work with a lot of assholes, a lot of jackasses, and I think some have no core in terms of, or integrity in terms of what they're going to say, what they're willing to say for a click to hit the algorithm to increase viewership, listenership, whatever it happens to be, because they want the money. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. And the thing is, like, I had always said to people, the Bongino rule, which was like, don't be first, be right. Give a story 72 hours or so to brew before you not speak about it, but form a final opinion. Let the facts come out. And, I that old line, is it Heraclitus who said it, that, man never steps in the same river twice. It's not the same man. It's not the same river. Like, if you don't, in fact, change and process new information and form different outputs, like, what does that say about you? I went in there and saw things I had not seen before. I had experience in government, but not at that level. I was a Secret Service agent. I was very proud of that. I was a candidate for office. However, when you go in at a principal and deputy level, you're read into everything and you see things. some of the stuff I saw had confirmed some of my priors, like the tweet you're going to mention. Matter of fact, made it worse. That tweet where I was shocked to the core. I thought I knew Russiagate. I walked in there, and whatever I came in priors, it was like 10x worse. But then there were other things I had prior assumptions about where I saw some of the information and it wasn't what we thought it was. And what would you prefer? I just lie to you? That was always confusing to me. Like we elected our people to go in there and get a job done. Trump picks the Avengers, President Trump. He picks like the team of the Avengers to go in there. You want us to go in there and just smoke you? I don't understand. And I appreciated that when I came back that my audience was there, and I mean, they're in spades. I mean, they came back and they were like, we're with you. This is exactly what we wanted, and we appreciate you coming back.
What a lot of people don't seem to understand, my success or failure is not predicated on anyone else's success or failure.
It's not zero sum.
It's just not. It's not a zero-sum game.
And I never did that. I mean, I half of the guys who waited for me to go inside where there's, you can't talk. You're not talking for yourself. You're talking for the administration. Half of the guys who did that used to, I have emails from these guys. I don't put them out there because I'm not an asshole, but hey, Dan, I'd love to come on your show. I got a new book coming out. Can you be a guest? One of these two jokers who were like taking pot shots at me. I have lists of DMs 3 weeks long. Man, what do we got to do to get you on the show? And then the second I can't believe this guy is in the FBI. It was like such bullshit. It's so phony. And that stuff. I've been doing this a long time. I've had my podcast for over 10 years now. We've been at the top of the game. We never bullshit people. We don't ride waves. We just speak the truth. And if you do that, you're always going to you're going to be a magnet for an audience every time.
One of the hardest calls I ever had with you was not long after you went in. And I remember where I was. I was not in the country. Yeah. And I was with my family. And we had just arrived at a restaurant for dinner. And I got a call from you. Yeah. Or I called you, one or the other. I don't remember. And I was out there for like 45 minutes to an hour. We were talking. I'd never heard you so pissed off. And this was frustrating for me, for you, if that makes any sense. And I'll tell you why, is because you guys inherited over 12 million unvetted illegal immigrants from over 200 countries, known terrorists, murderers, rapists, child molesters, other violent criminals, cartel members, gang members. Now, as everyone's saying, why isn't the FBI getting to the bottom of this? Meanwhile, you're there like a month, maybe, at that point.
Yeah.
And why aren't they focused on this? They promised X, Y, or Z. And I'm like, they're gulping water right now. I mean, what do you think? They're not trying? They're not working?
Yeah. That was,
you were frustrated, and rightly so.
I know. I remember the call well. I'm pretty sure I called you. Here's why. So you walk in there, and to everyone listening, I love the job. The experience was great. My biggest mistake was going on Fox and Friends, and Lawrence Jones just asked me a question about, what's the transition
LJ's
like? And
I'm his best friend. I can't trust LJ.
I love LJ. It was a great question. There was nothing wrong with the question. The mistake was I answered it honestly for the first. I probably should have just lied about it. He asked me on Fox and Friends. He's like, man, what's the transition like going from that to this? I'd only been on the job a month. And I said, and I was thinking of my apartment, not my office on the weekends because my wife couldn't come up right away. I've got a young daughter. I've got this health issue with my mother-in-law. It's pretty significant. So my wife can't travel as much. So I was like, I sit and stare I was talking about the four walls of my apartment, not the office. I don't sit in the office and stare at the walls all day. Right. And it was just such a bad answer. And I got to tell you, like, I have very few regrets in my life in the media space. Like I live by the, no GNUs is bad GNUs, like Gary GNU. But
let it go.
But that one really stung because people were like, oh, he's complaining about I was not complaining about the job. I was complaining about being apart from my wife. The job was an amazing experience. But getting to your point, like, this is not a complaint. I signed up for this, but we walked into a mess. You had like level A problems, which were like, you had to fix this right away or something's going to go boom. Then you had level B and level C. D, E, and F got handled by someone else and people out in the field and up into the DAD level. If it made it to your desk, it was like an A, B, or C problem, and C is a pretty big deal. But the problem is, as you're dealing with those problems every day in the FBI, there were two FBIs trying to help you solve the A, B, and C problems, and that's FBI 1 and FBI 2. Like, there's two FBI? Yes, there were two FBIs. There was the FBI of like, bust your ass, VCAC agents, violent crimes against children, white collar agents, violent crime fugitive task force. And some of these guys, I was just honored to be in the room. They were like, we have this TFO, task force officer down in Miami. This guy, his first name's Joe, I won't say his last name. This guy's been on the job 38 years. You know how many violent criminals are off the street because of this guy and the agents he works with? I mean, he's a TFO, but the agents were like that too. And then you had this other FBI, which was populated with, to say, unfortunately, snakes as being nice. And here's a problem, Sean. It wasn't always obvious which FBI they were in. So you're trying to solve like a level A problem, which has like no solution. There's a shitty solution and a shittier one. And I got to tell you, it's almost like a coin toss, because either way, someone's going to get hurt. Okay. And you're trying to figure this out and you're asking someone for advice. You've only been there a couple weeks and you don't know if that person is part of the good FBI or the bad FBI. So it took Cash and I both, and even people we had relied on the outside who knew the FBI well, sometimes they would get it wrong too. It happened a couple times where they'd say, oh, you can trust John Smith.
Right.
And you trust John Smith. And then a week later, you'd see like a leak in the media and you'd be like, I'm pretty sure that came from John Smith. So I would start like messing with people, like I would do these things. Like I told this, a report leaked out in the media one day. I knew exactly where it came from because I made it up. It was a total lie. It was just an innocuous story. It wasn't about.
So you set somebody up.
I set somebody up. It was about like my schedule after I was going to leave work. I'm like, yeah, I'm going out to, I forget what I said, but I'm going out to like Fleming Steakhouse tonight.
Right.
I wasn't going out to Fleming's. I was traveling back to Florida. I knew I was the only, and I confronted him on it. Yeah, it leaked. I knew it was. Like so it was like we would play this, we'd had to play this little game. Mm-hmm. So we walked into this total shit show, this Biden mess, illegals everywhere. The FBI focused on locking up Donald Trump and not bad guys. I had one agent. This guy was part of the bad FBI. And I'm sitting in this big director's conference room, like 150 seats in there.
I'm glad you're laughing now.
Rubio
was a
said
rough
that.
year.
Rubio, I'm talking to the secretary, and he comes up and he goes, man, you look really happy now. No, I said, no, I miss it. And I said, you're doing a great job, by the way. And
he's great, right?
Oh, the best. But, we're sitting there, and I said, hey, man, why aren't we locking up more violent criminals? With the FBI, I said, the end game of terrorists and violent criminals is the same, to get you dead quick. I said the means by which they get there may be different in the ideology and the motive. One may be greed and drugs. One is Islamo-radicalism. But either way, you're dead. I want us back in the violent crime business. I had one of these guys tell me, no joke. He's like, well, we don't really do that because it's risky. I said, wait, did you just say that out loud? Yeah. I said, that's not the little voice in your head, right? You just said that out loud. It's risky. I said, what's risky? Living in one of these crack-infested neighborhoods with, drug slingers and crack runners and meth runners where the kids are dying, the kids are getting killed. I said, that's freaking risky. I said, don't ever tell me that again. I said, I'm sorry, but come back. I brought my chief of staff in, who was an outsider. He was a Secret Service agent with me. Great guy. I brought him in, and we started this whole violent crime task force. And we walked into the president. We sold him on the idea of reorienting the FBI back to violent crime. And look what happened. The lowest homicide rate in U.S. history.
As of this taping, 8 of the 10 most wanted FBI people caught. What was it, a 40% increase in, reduction or arrests of murderers and violent criminals?
I think we had over 60,000.
Crazy.
It was the lowest.
You shattered every record.
The lowest homicide rate ever recorded.
Yeah.
And it was the lowest crime rate ever recorded. I was talking to a reporter from a left-wing outlet the other day, which I don't do often.
Why would you talk to any left-wing
outlet? I know. But ironically, because I only talked to him because he wrote a piece that was unbelievably, not crazy, So I was chatting with him.
Think of that standard. Unbelievably not crazy.
Right, but that's why I generally don't discuss this stuff. But I was kind of curious as to why they wrote this, semi-fair story. And he said, I'm really interested in this violent crime thing. He goes, I get these, a lot of these outlets are reporting like, oh, it was luck or Biden did it or it wasn't President Trump or whatever. But he said, I'm really curious as to how you guys did it. Like, that can't be an accident. That the crime rate was the lowest in U.S. history, and not only that, but by a moonshot. Like, the homicide rate was something like 20% lower than the lowest rate ever recorded. And I said, we just did a couple really simple things, before the old FBI, in order for us to go and help, say, Deputy Sean Hannity down here in Florida go get a bad guy on a state murder warrant, you had to jump through all these hoops. So these sheriff's departments would call us for help, and you'd have to meet this criteria. I said, that's bullshit. We're wiping all of that out. these UFAP warrants, unlawful flight against prosecution. Did the guy call someone out of state somewhere? Good. That looks like he was trying to flee prosecution. Right. I said, get on that. So we expanded from, I don't know, whatever, 10 or 15 criteria, whatever it was, to, 10x that, and enabled our guys to go into police departments and go get shitheads off the street. And look what happened. No shocker. When you get shitheads off the street, shitheads don't do bad stuff. And the crime rate, I'm not telling you like it's Einstein, Stephen Hawking stuff.
So you spent 4 years in the NYPD. You were, 12 years Secret Service.
Yeah.
And this is the most screwed up thing ever. So Muriel Bowser, Democrat, D.C. mayor, actually embraces Donald Trump deploying agents in her city. Murder rate goes down 70%. Right. Crazy drop. People in D.C., I've been there. It's a totally different city. It's cleaned up. Look at Chicago. On my TV show since 2009, this is Obama's home city. He's the president of our country. And, every weekend you can predict 25, 28. On a light weekend, 15 people shot, 8 of them shot and killed. Nobody ever lifts a finger. Did you ever think in your lifetime, because you've dedicated a lot of your life to law enforcement, that defund, dismantle, no bail, reimagine the police? I'm like, what? Send in the social workers?
Yeah. Well, the great part about running the FBI with President Trump. So President Trump early on was really focused on Memphis, him and Cash, because it was one of the most violent, small cities in America. So that's where we tested this whole model on UFAP warrants and elsewhere. But President Trump was obsessed with D.C. Not because there were any votes there. President Trump's not going to win Washington, D.C. It's like 95% Democrat. He sees it every day and problems bother him. He is a fixer. And he just hated it. He'd drive around the city and he's like, why are there all, homeless people sleeping on the sidewalk? Why is that guy getting robbed? And he just said, guys, just freaking go for it. And the beautiful part about being the deputy is Cash is managing the whole place. So he's dealing with the White House, the budget, OMB with Dan Bishop at the time and Russ. He's dealing with, Rubio and Ratcliffe. The operational day-to-day, and Cash would say it's not like a flex, it's just true, was really me and the ADD, the Associate Deputy Director. Right. We would run everything. So Cash was very, very hands-off on that. He was a big vision guy. President says he wants crime crushed. Dan, how are we going to do it? I pitched him UFAP warrants, broken windows policing, and what I call the water balloon effect with agents, where we would squeeze a water balloon in one place, push agents here, and then when a crime got crushed, we would squeeze them back to another spot. And we wind up taking a regional approach with assets too. Things like our WIT trucks and things like that, like all of these Cellbrights, these special devices we have that locals don't have. We would pool them in regions as well and spool them out, like from New York City to Long Island, for example, like stuff we really had.
Cellbrite, explain what that is.
Well, we have a lot of equipment that we can, get into and phones and things like that. But a lot of the locals don't have this
stuff. If
stuff.
Somebody thinks that their phone is erased or let's say they don't have a cloud, you can retrieve it. When I learned that, I was stunned.
Yeah, we have a lot of, that's what worries me.
Am I not allowed to talk about that? You gave me a bad look there.
No, I don't.
We talked about it during the Nancy Guthrie case.
I know, and I couldn't believe someone, let out that technology, because that was something this other stuff is already out there. People know about it. It's kind of gotten out there, but we have a lot of tools.
That is insane. I mean, it should be gone.
Sean, I've been out of law enforcement a long time. I left the Secret Service 2011 to run for office. So although I kept contact with my law enforcement friends, I've been out a bit. So when I come in, not only are we dealing with A, B, and C problems with FBI 1 or 2, but the technology gap for me was, and I didn't go in there with any kind of an ego at all. And that's why, if you'll notice, like you never see any leaks because there's no leaks I did not walk in there and try to be like Mr. Badass tough guy with the Popeye forearms. I was very humble with the guys and said, listen, I'm here because the president got elected and there's new leadership in charge. If you don't like it, there's the door. However, we are going to work together. I'm going to respect you. You're going to respect me. And out of respect for you, I'm going to tell you, you guys know a lot of things about cyber and the equipment space and like Cellbrite and others that I don't know. So I need to get briefed in on this stuff. So I spent like the first month going through the tech stuff. But that's how, that's getting back to your original question. The best part about being the deputy at the FBI was I don't answer to Brandon Johnson. I have to work with Brandon Johnson. Now that I'm out, I can say this different though. I don't give a shit what Brandon Johnson thinks. I told Doug, the SAC in charge of Chicago, hey, Doug, I don't give a shit what the mayor tells you. I don't work for him. Find a federal charge and go lock these guys up. The CPD was great, by the way. Like, they would help us. They're not going to strand us out there. So was the NYPD. Jessica Tisch was fantastic. She worked with us on a bunch of stuff. But when we did that Operation Open Air drug market up in New York where we cleaned it up, I called the commissioner and I gave her a heads up, and she couldn't have been more cooperative. But they were in that mayor-elect period, Mamdani, and Mamdani's talking about all this anti-police crap. And I told my boss up there, the ADIC, the assistant director in charge, I said, I don't give a shit what Mamdani says. You clean up that drug market on your own. And we did. I didn't give a damn.
Isn't it the most messed up thing? I mean, you have all these criminal illegals. We're trying to get rid of them. You have the two incidents in Minnesota, Renee Good, this other guy, Preddy, whatever his name is. Okay, put aside the facts of the case for the sake of argument. Every weekend in Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles, you can predict kind of with pinpoint accuracy how many people shot and killed.
Yeah.
Nobody knows their name. I've had people, I asked Bill de Blasio, who's sitting in your seat, can you name one person? No. I'm not criticizing them. I'm making a point. If they can't weaponize it, politicize it, turn it against Trump, then all of a sudden that life doesn't matter. Yeah. But if they can turn it political, it matters. The fact that we haven't cleaned up Chicago after all these years, all these weekends, all these people shot, all these people murdered, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And then they will lecture us, well, lives matter. Apparently not.
Yeah.
Because if they mattered, they would do what you did.
You know, I love this format, the fact that it shouldn't be.
It's great, right?
We're not on your Fox show. I'm so used to talking to you on your Fox show.
By the way, you know me in real life. This really is
the real you. Like that, I'm so glad you're not wearing ties anymore, by the way.
I hate
that is so not you
it,
at all. You're like such like a around the neighborhood guy. You know, it's not an act. He's the same way, folks.
Well, the worst part is I didn't ask. And I just started showing up without one.
And me too. I just started wearing T-shirts and a jacket. No one said anything on the show.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, if I don't get a call from Megan or someone, like, I'm good to go. And no one said anything. But yeah, Chicago, this stuff bothered me. And this was the genius of President Trump. And for those listening, like, oh, you're just kissing. You can shut the it is. You don't know what I lived through. And you know this guy. I do an interview with him on the podcast. I don't get off track here, but before I got in, obviously, it was one of the last interviews he did before Election Day. It was him, me, and The Undertaker. Mark, who's a great guy.
Right.
And we're up in Trump Tower. And before the show starts, he starts talking to me about Wallman Rink in New York, the ice skating rink he fixed in like 6 months when New York couldn't do it in like 20 years. He's going into like the brine solution and desalinated versus salinated water and how this property of water with salt in it. And you got to get this just right. And my wife is looking at me. So we do the whole interview and we're walking out and she had to stop in a CVS or something in New York to get some. She comes out and I go, what was the best part of that interview? And I knew what she was going to say. She goes, it wasn't even in the interview. She goes, it was the Wallman Rink thing. I said, yes. He is like the master of details. He speaks discursively. He jumps around a little bit. And obviously, like me, he's a Queens guy. He can get emotional about stuff. He is ridiculously smart. How does that go back to your question about Chicago? We're talking to him really, really early on about Memphis and DC, what soon became Summer Heat, this violent crime initiative. And he says, you know, Dan, with these illegals, like when we arrest them, you know, what are we doing? And we're chatting about this whole thing. And he's like, well, why are we wasting all this time, you know, with debriefing them and attorneys and all this stuff? If we can just deport them and they're not giving us any valuable, like if the guy's giving up Scarface or whatever, sure, we're going to keep him here for a little, even if he's here illegally. Because other than that, it's just like he sees things in spreadsheets. Like, why are we wasting all these police officers' time and money? Why not just expand Title VIII, expand ERO? We'll put some of your FBI guys on there to triage the intel, like this guy's the most important guy rather than a guy working in a hotel. Still here illegally. He shouldn't be here. But however, the murderer should go first. I think we all agree on that. Put the intel guys on him. And why don't we just do that and just get him out? This was not like some crazy idea. So when people see this crime rate collapse, you can attribute it to President Trump's ERO, emergency removal ops, without a doubt. That's probably 50% of it. The other 50% is UFAP, the violent crime refocus, the FBI reallocation, DEA's good work. It wasn't just us, the Marshals Task Force, and just getting mutts off the street. But he is a problem solver. And the thing about him too, when you work for him, because it was a little different. Like you knew him like I knew him before. Like we were friendly. You were friendly with me, but we were pretty friendly, me and him. Working for him's different. Like they're no friends. And I'm not saying he's like mean. He's not mean. I don't mean it so, Mr. President, but there's no friend. Like he wants results. I promise you go work for him tomorrow. He doesn't give a shit about what you better get him freaking results.
I'm laughing because it's true.
He's like, there's no like brownie points or nothing, man. None. You get the job done. He'll boot your ass right out of there. So, you know, that part was kind of interesting seeing him manage situations. And he sits there and he like takes stuff in too. You'll be in a room with like 4 or 5 people and he'll just take it in. And he knows, like, if you're full of shit, like, you know, and you better get to the point quick too. Cause if you're blustering.
Instant.
He's no time for it.
You have a 2.5, a fraction of a second.
I love
it. Quick story. Yeah. One day we're talking and he was being hard on somebody. I said, I'd never work for you. He goes, he took it personally. Why not? You're a pain in the ass. I actually said that. I said, you're a tough boss.
It's his best feature. He does one thing. You want to lose him quick, like do DBM. You know what DBM is? Death by meeting. If you do death by meeting, he needs you to get to what the problem is and how you're going to fix it. Stop talking. And people love to talk in DC. You'll go to meetings. You'd see me, like I was the same way. I put a 50-minute cap on a lot of my meetings, 50 minutes, because people start to zone out. If I saw one person in the meeting doing this, you know, the heavy eyelids, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, man. We got to get to the point. And that was even in some of these meetings, like I had a meeting about, you know, the whole UFO thing, which of course, you know, everybody goes,
well, you're going to share all of that, right?
So we're
going to get to that.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Don't forget, because you got to remind me about like the lawyers storming into my office. Cause I was like, oh wow, we better do this quick. But even that meeting, you know, they're showing me a bunch of stuff. I'm like, that's a weather balloon. Like that's you know, and I'm like, can we just get to like the good stuff? Like show me, I don't waste my time. We don't have a lot. The president's the same way. Get to the freaking point.
Well, that's, you know, I think that's why you're so compatible. Anyone that is successful has that. All right. I don't think I ever told you this story. A friend of mine, backtrack. In my family, all 4 of my grandparents came from Ireland. Yeah. My grandfather's brother had 2 sons that worked for the FBI. Right. They were deity in my family. You know, I had a lot of family that, like you, NYPD. My parents were in law enforcement in different ways. They were deity. They made it to, that was the top of the top. Yeah. And one just recently passed away, and he was so disgusted with the FBI. So I had a friend, high-ranking FBI. I'll give you no more details than that. Not the highest ranking, but high where he was.
Yeah.
And I never thought anyone would ever say something like this to me. He goes, Sean, if the FBI ever comes to your house for any reason, do not talk to them.
Yeah.
I wasn't raised... My natural gut instinct would be, how can I help you? What do you need? Yeah. He said, if they come after you, odds are they're not going to be people that like you, number one. Number two, it's an immediate perjury trap. I'm like, well, I don't lie. I mean, it doesn't matter if you don't lie. You can just say something. It turns out not exactly 100% how you remembered it. And if they want to get you, they can get you. And that goes against every fiber of my being. Was that good advice?
Unfortunately, yeah, it was.
Shit.
I'll tell you.
What does that say?
I'm there, I don't know, 4 or 5 months or so. And someone we know in the space, or you at least know of, I don't know a bit how, but you know, called about a very serious, it was like a swatting doxing case, involved some interstate travel. So it definitely had an FBI nexus. And it was she didn't know this at the time, but, and I didn't tell her, but was involved in a bigger case I couldn't disclose. It turned into an even bigger case later that even involved me, and some doxing done on me. I didn't know that at the time. I call up, I send 2 guys out there right away. I call up, I forget where it was, doesn't matter. Tuscaloosa. It wasn't, but whatever. I say, get 2 guys out there right away. this person calls and doesn't want to talk to him. I'm like, you asked for help. These are our guys. Sean, I couldn't believe it. I was on the phone like 20 minutes. Like, these are our guys. These are our guys. Like, these are good guys. I would not send 2 ham sandwiches over to your house. These are good guys. I can't help you if you don't want to tell us the details. Getting back to what you were saying, like, isn't that sad? Like, I grew up the same way. Like, you watched, I mean, there was no Netflix growing up. Maybe you threw like a VHS tape in about the FBI and you were like, man, these guys are like heroes. And the fact that the destruction, I always saw you were very, I think, fair over the years that, hey, these guys who were the working dirt under the fingernails guys, like, a lot of these guys hated this stuff. I mean, when me and Cash first got on there, Cash tells the story a lot. And believe me, he's not kidding. Like, we would do field office visits. You have no idea like how many agents who had done nothing but like violent crime their whole life. They've never even touched Crossfire Hurricane. They had no idea what it even was. That was a headquarters case run out of headquarters. Very few people outside of headquarters touched it. They would like grab us by the arm and they'd say, hey boss, we really like appreciate what you and Cash are doing, what you and the director are doing. And it wasn't like once or twice. It was a lot. And the fact that I think what you just said, that's a fact. There's just growing distrust, even any public polling in the FBI due to the weaponization. And I think the guys who do the work there were devastated. I remember after the whole like Columbia thing broke in the Secret Service, I was at the bus stop one day and some guy's like, man, you must be, embarrassed about the Secret Service guy. I'm like, embarrassed about what? I wasn't there. Like, what the, like, it was a screw up. Like, I know people who were involved in the whole thing. Like, it was terrible. But it's just, and I can't even imagine being an agent, dedicating your life, doing the right thing. And then you've got a percentage of the workforce that unfortunately wasn't small, doing knucklehead stuff. And now you got to deal with this shit forever. But yeah, that wasn't bad advice. I wish I'd tell you otherwise.
It just blows me away that you're confirming it.
Yeah.
You're the deputy FBI director.
Sean, we found a lot of
every fiber of my being would want to be helpful. You're telling me, and by the way, I have a full-time lawyer. After all I've been through, after all my private text messages leaked left, right, and sideways, there are thousands that have been made public without my approval. Okay, nothing bad. The greatest criticism I got was CNN, breaking news, Sean Hannity. And then the commentator would go, oh my God, it reads like his monologue. He really believes this shit. I'm like, does that mean you're a phony? Because what I say privately, I say publicly.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It is. And under prior leadership, Ray and Comey, from what we saw, and especially under Biden and Obama, there is zero doubt in my mind, and I believe Cash would tell you the same, that the 7th floor, which is the director's floor in the Hoover building.
Explain the 7th floor and then finish the story.
So the Hoover building, the 7th floor is basically where the ops directors. So the FBI, we reorganized it. They had a different structure before. The way it's organized now is you have Cash, then you have the deputy, which is me. It's now Chris Ray and Andrew Bailey. They have co's now. Which is good because it breaks it down into 2. And then there's an ADD, an associate deputy director. And then there's 5 ODs, ops directors. And they run the big divisions, Crim Cyber, CTD, CI, counter intel. So those are like the 5, like little princes of the FBI, so to say. When we came in there, not all of them, but a lot of those OD positions and below, unfortunately, were occupied by people who I just felt could not put their politics aside. You can just tell right away. And it then, some of them just left because they knew that wasn't going to fly anymore. Some other people in headquarters, we, found out were up to stuff and we had to get rid of them. But I really couldn't believe it. Like, we would read emails because contrary to what the doomers and the black pillars are telling you, 10% of the workforce turned over within the first year of me and Cash getting there. 10%. Why do you think they left? Because there was like better pickings on the outside. They left because they were afraid we were going to discover what and a lot of them we did. We had to fire a lot of them. Some left voluntarily. Some left the minute Cash was sworn in. So there's nothing we could do. Like, they were already gone. You can't like rehire them to fire them, nor would you. But we would open up investigations on things where we suspected there was weaponization. And you would read some of these emails. And first thing, honestly, that came to mind, I'm not making light of it, but you'd be like, what a moron. This is an FBI system, you dipshit. Are you this stupid? You wrote this on an FBI system. That was the first. Cash and I would sit there. I'm telling you, we'd be scratching our heads like, did this moron just didn't it? It's a government system. You didn't realize this was being logged? So after you.
And by the way, you have the technology to retrieve it.
Of course. And some of the stuff, they were stunned because there's a lot of different comm systems in the FBI. There's levels. There's like low side, medium side, high side, like high side. And some of these people thought we couldn't find this stuff, which was just crazy. We would read some of their emails. And after you got over the just pure stupidity of it, you'd be like, brother, like you just sound like you're the FBI. The FBI. I'm telling you, I walked in there very humble. I don't care what you know about me on Sean's show or what you think you know about me. Sean's known me longer than anyone. I'm a Queens kid. I'm loud, but I'm actually a very humble guy in person. And I walked in there from day one and I said, guys, this is the FBI. I said, it's not my FBI. It's not your FBI. It is the FBI. It's like the Yankees. You may be the center fielder for the Yankees, but you don't own the team. Someone's going to take your place one day, but you'll always have been the center fielder for the Yankees. It's your job to represent that seal right there every single time. I said, when you walk around with pride. And we did little things like to get people back because they were beaten up because there were a couple personnel situations where people had left or we'd had to get rid of them. And there were a lot of people who were not happy. So you would walk into a Tuesday morning we had the big meeting 2 days a week because they didn't like doing it 5 days a week because it took them off their streets and doing. So we did the big meeting 2 days a week. That's with all like the upper level management from headquarters. It's me and Cash, the head of the table and everybody else, right? So envision a big long room, like the Knights of the Round Table or whatever it is. And it was a couple times where after some personnel moves had to be made, people removed from positions and some had to be fired, where there was like a doom and gloom in the room. And I understood. And I was always very honest with people. And I said, listen, this is not ours. You don't understand. Like this job has to get done. There are no days off or things go boom. That is it, guys. And we did little things. Like I went down to our training center in Quantico and I said, we got to redo this training program. We got to like tighten things up. And there was a lot of fluff in there. So we brought in a new AD for training. We cleaned it up. But I said, one of the things I want you to do to imbue in these new agents a sense of family and camaraderie and the fact that they're part of something bigger than them. As I said, did you ever hear of the Crucible? Now, I was not a Marine, regretfully. I wish I was. But they do this Crucible at the end. It's this just like torturous, like obstacle course. It's just meant that this is what you're going to do before you get out. You're going to finish that Crucible before you get this Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. And I watched it. I've seen it a couple of times on TV and stuff. I obviously never did it. But I said, we're going to do something like that. I said, that last day of training, I said, I don't care what you call it. I don't care if you call it the really hard obstacle course. It doesn't matter to me. I said, but you are going to grind these guys and women down that last day. And I said, you know what you're going to do? When you're done, after 4 to 6 hours of brutal PT, bear crawls, mud running, I said, you're going to take them over that wall over there. They said, what wall? I said, the wall with all the agents who've been shot and killed in the line of duty. I said, while they're dirty and they're tired, don't even give them any water. And I said, you're going to talk to them in front of that wall and you're going to show them what it took to get on that wall. You know what it took? It took your life. And it could take yours too. And I said, you're going to tell them that. And I said, that's the FBI President Trump wants to build. Me and Cash want to build. And they did it. And they do it right now. And that was important to me. I wanted the FBI to mean what your family, what it meant to them, and what it meant to me growing up. Where when the FBI showed up, they were the good guys. Oh. Like you wanted to help them. And that's just not where we were when we walked in there.
Let me get to the post.
Oh, yeah.
I remember reading this.
Yeah.
And I remember reading it again. And then I read it again. Because I know you, and I've known you all these years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if Dan Bongino's saying this, we are screwed. I'm going to read it. I don't read it on the show, but I'm going to put my gloves on and read it. Okay. During my tenure here as deputy director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. So you're trying to communicate to those armchair quarterbacks that have no idea the shit show you inherited. All right, so take that at the surface. The director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption, the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. But what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. We're going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We're going to get the answers we all deserve. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it's going to land, but I can promise you an honest, dignified effort at truth. Not my truth or your truth, but the truth. And you say, God bless America and all who defend her. Okay. You want to give some context to that?
Yeah.
How far can you go?
For you, I'll go as far as I think I can go, because there's always like a line here, and
I don't want the FBI knocking on your door.
Yeah. So I'm sitting in the office on the Friday night. I believe that was on a Saturday morning, and either Cash or I had to be in DC because only me and Cash can sign a FISA, and you have to actually sign it. So if there's an emergency, one of us had to be in DC. So typically we were both there, but I think that weekend he was traveling. So I was the DC guy, and my wife couldn't come up that weekend. So I was basically on my own in the apartment in DC, and, I knew it was going to be. So I just stayed really late at the office on Friday, and not because I was being a tough guy, just because there was nowhere else to go, and I figured might as well work. So it was like 7:00, and I was starting to feel bad because my security details got to work late too. And it wasn't a big detail. It was like 4 or 5 guys, but
not a big detail. I only have 5 guys myself.
Yeah. It was like 4, which isn't huge, but we had a lot of threats. And so I'm sitting there, and there was a document that we had found, Cash and I, in the infamous 9th floor Narnia, which was a magic room, and I use that term magic jokingly, where a lot of things just appeared. And we were like,
the burn bags?
The burn bags, right.
Can you explain a burn bag?
So a burn bag is just a paper bag, and you throw material in there that is supposed to be burned. Burn bag sounds big because it sounds like something nefarious. If you have a paper copy of a document you're not obligated to store, you burn it. So it goes in a burn bag. It would be like in the Secret Service, a motorcade route. You don't want the enemy getting it. You throw it in a burn and they burn it. However, somebody didn't burn these bags. Why? Well, see as the case proceeds, but somebody didn't burn these bags. So we found.
I got a question. Do you suspect maybe somebody purposely put them away that you'd find them? Because they didn't like what they were living through?
And this is why I say to people that be careful painting the entire bureau with an overly broad brush. There were a ton of bad actors, and more than I expected, and you are correct about that. But there were a lot of people in there under extreme pressure who, you get where I'm going with this? Who were probably like, this isn't right.
You suspect somebody did it on purpose. They saved it on purpose.
I do. And it was the mother lode. And there was a document in there that we were never meant to find that was basically the keys to the kingdom on Crossfire. And the document was so sensitive, we were not even to carry it outside of the office, outside of an official with the whole, and I wasn't bringing it home. It was a weekend. So I just stayed at the office to read it. It was about 100 pages with the footnotes. The footnotes were probably as interesting as the actual document. And it took me a good 4 hours to get through this. And I'm reading it, having written, 3 books on Spygate, Russiagate. I mean, you covered this. You, John Solomon, Sarah Carter.
Every night. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, every night. And I thought it was bad. And like I told you in the beginning of this interview, like some of the things prior as I came in where I thought this thing was going to be this thing and it turned out to be another thing. This thing I thought was going to be bad. I didn't think it was going to be worse than bad. I'm reading this document and I'm like, I can't believe this happened in the United States. And it wasn't just that it happened in the United States. It was that so many people knew about it and nobody had the balls to say to anyone on the 7th floor or in the agency or with some of our foreign partners, like, hey, that's bullshit. It's in the paper. Just read the paper. All you had to do was read it. This thing was bullshit from the start. I know that's not the story. You knew the Russia hoax was bullshit. Everybody knew it was bullshit. The PPT, all that stuff. That's not the point. The point is they knew it was bullshit. There is no way they thought this was real.
Do you know what my level of, but maybe because we're friends, I'm going to read this again. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned.
No, I'm not the same. I'm scared. Okay. You know why I'm scared? You want me to tell you something?
Yeah.
You know why I wrote that? So I get up Saturday morning. This is bothering me. I hate when people say I lost sleep. I sleep through anything. Doesn't matter. That one night I really did lose sleep. I think that night I took like 2 theanine pills, like to calm down because I could not believe what
pills?
Theanine. It's an amino acid, like help you calm down. It's not like Xanax or it's like over the counter. Well, if I probably would have taken one of those, if I would have had one of those, I could not go to sleep. I'm on the phone with my wife and I obviously can't tell her. I mean, she's not read in and it's an open line anyway. And I'm like, I just can't believe what I read. So I finally get to sleep and I wake up Saturday morning and I go to the FBI gym. Well, I lived right up the block and I'm working out and I still can't believe like this happened in the United States. I punch out that tweet and I told Cash, I got to send this out. And I got to tell you, I knew it was going to start a shitstorm, but within 30 seconds, I think it was Brian Yennis or someone on Fox News, and I'm like, oh shit. And then I'm getting like a bunch of calls and I was like,
I called you.
I know. I'm like, but listen, I will never be the same. And I'm being as serious as a stroke right now. Look, I'm scared, man. Like I know what I did. And I'm proud of my work and I'm proud of what me and Cash accomplished in the past year, beyond proud. I know what we did. I know what's coming. I know what I started. I know what I laid out and I know it's all, you saw a lot of these cases coming out over the past few days even. But don't think for a second that I don't think every day, and this is what's really sad, and this is why I know, and I never thought this after reading that enough Friday night, that they're going to come for me. And listen, man, it's not a sob story. I knew what I was getting into. But it happened to the president, and he went through just the worst, just destruction of his civil liberties I've ever seen. But I say to my wife all the time, I know, Sean, I can look you in the face as a friend, tell you and your millions of viewers and listeners, I promise you everything I did with a dotted I and a crossed T. I brought in my own attorney from the outside, person I trusted, a wonderful, wonderful person. I said, no, everything is going to be by the book. Everything. I'm confident in that. And you know what? It don't matter. They'll rewrite the book, just like they did for President Trump. And I said to my wife, I said, I got a 14-year-old. The presidency could change. I hope it doesn't in a little over 2 years. You don't think on election night, if we lose, like it's not going through my head, like they're going to send some thugs to my house? I was never the same after that, because after reading what I read about how many people did this to President Trump, this Russia hoax, collusion, crossfire hurricane bullshit, and not a single person stopped them, I'm terrified that they're just not going to do the right thing when they're in charge. We did the right. I can tell you right now, like there have been cases that were brought to us by field agents, by the way, not by the White House never called us to invest. That's all bullshit. Like what do you think they're stupid? They stay out of that stuff. They a lot of student law enforcement stuff. There have been cases against public figures and stuff where they just filter up through tips and stuff. And even though it would have been, whatever, a big Twitter thing if we did, we didn't do it. Like there's one specific case. I can't get it deep, but it made a lot of news. It was a huge arrest. It was a coast to coast thing. It involved mob figures and things like that. Do you have any idea how many more people we could have arrested on that case? And you know what? It wasn't a good use of FBI assets. And it wasn't about Twitter hits or anything like that. I can't tell you with a straight face when these people get in charge, these hooligans that were in charge of the other side, that they're not going to throw us all in jail for felonious mopery on the open seas. Like, what's that? I don't know. They made it up. Like, they will. And I know I wouldn't do that.
I'm trying to take this in. I've known you a long time. You're not saying any of this lightly. I don't think I ever thought I'd hear Dan Bongino use the word scared, because that's not in your nature. Your whole life, everything you've done in your whole life has been embracing risk. You know, you embody courage. Well, let me ask this question.
Wait, because like you think like you start thinking weird things because you know they're coming for you. You just know it.
Because they know you know.
I have like.
So either you're paranoid and you're not.
When my wife built the house, I asked her for one thing. I'm like, can you just get me one of those cool like overhead shower things? Like, you do whatever you want with the house. Like, they got me. But this is funny. I love this overhead. I don't care about anything. I'm like, do what you want with the kitchen. Put a gym there. I don't.
A lot of volume. A lot of water.
Just send water on me. It's the weirdest thing. And this just goes to show you how crazy you get in your head. The other day, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I had just gotten out of cold plunge and freeze. I'm like, gosh, this warm water feels so good. And again, switching back to serious, Dan, I'm like, I'll probably be in some federal prison with some, that's what comes to my mind every day. Like, I live like this the rest of my life because I know how they are.
All right. If it feels like everybody's sick right now, guess what? You are not imagining it. Now, doctors say this is the worst cold and flu season in 25 years, and it's not even over. Now, I just went out to dinner with friends, and it was like everyone coughing, sneezing, sick, or they just been sick. They're just getting over being sick. I can't afford to get sick. I doubt you can either. Now, you see this here? This is why I ordered the emergency medical kit, and many of my colleagues have it too. You've seen Dr. Drew, Dr. McCullough. They have this kit on their show. It's called the Wellness Company Medical Emergency Kit. Every home should have one. Having a medical emergency kit, that's like having an urgent care pharmacy right in your home. Look at this. Look at that. It includes essential prescriptions, generic Z-Pak to help you get well faster, plus very important antibiotics. And for example, for pneumonia, strep throat, sinus infection, nausea, UTIs, many more common and serious illnesses. Now, it's all in the kit. The moment you need it, no waiting for your doctor, no hoping your pharmacy is open, no hours at urgent care. That's the worst thing to do in life. No lines at the pharmacy, no copays. Just match your symptoms to the right prescription in your guidebook, or just call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Now start on your meds and feel better faster. It's genius. Every home needs at least one medical emergency kit. Order yours now online. They'll ship it to your house. Now, I can save you $45 when you use the promo code Hannity. Go to urgentcarekit.com. One word, urgentcarekit.com. Again, save $45, promo code Hannity, urgentcarekit.com, and you will be healthier and prepared. So what you saw is so deep, so impactful, so profound that we cannot run a republic like this.
No.
I'll never be the same. And you added context that it scared you and you couldn't sleep. Okay. I'm listening very closely. Now you think it's so bad that the people know, they get back in power.
Yes.
They're going to want to shut you up, shut you down.
Well, there's been a tremendous amount of work to reinstitute guardrails. I mean, everything from FISA to Cash and I did a lot of work. And I'm not telling you they can't come in and change it back, but they're going to have to create a paper trail to do it. So, yes, I'm extremely concerned they are going to weaponize the justice system and start arresting people for jaywalking or mattress tag ripping or something like that. It worries me every day. I'd be lying to you if I said otherwise. They'll make it up just like they did on Trump. The case up in New York. The bank comes in and goes, we're not victims. We want to do more business with them. They're like, yeah, charge them anyway. In the civil BS case. But Cash and I, because a fair question would be, well, if you were so scared, like, what did you guys do? And this is where I have to be careful because a lot of it's personnel issues. Like, we made a ton of changes. And it's weird because like the New York Times and Washington Post complain about everybody we fired and let go. And then you had like doomers who were full of shit go, well, you didn't let go enough people. Well, who's right? The answer is we had to keep, let me just say this. Maybe it'll make sense why some of our personnel decisions didn't make sense to outsiders. When you're trying to get John Gotti, right? Probably bad analogy, but there were people in the FBI who were really bad people, right? Do you go interview the local nun? No, right? Because she doesn't know anything about it. She doesn't do business with the mob.
No.
Who do you talk to? You talk to
the mobsters.
Sammy the Bull, right?
Yeah.
But he killed people. You're like, you can't talk to him.
21 or 22.
Right. But you're like, that's the analogy I would try to explain to people. When we got in there early, it wasn't about like finding angels. It was about who knew what and who could help us solve problems. And then when the problems were solved, we would move people out when we found out they caused problems. And it was just so hard to explain to people because you can't get into personnel stuff. You're not going to go out there and talk about names. And it was just really, really difficult. I think we have made enough dramatic changes. We put a ton of new FISA rules in place. I mean, Cash and I were on FISA probably 3-4 times a week in special meetings just for that. I brought in a lawyer just for FISA to go over that stuff. We put in new guardrails, new penalties. We reorganized the place so that intel was more manageable and you couldn't like hide pockets of intel. You're not going to be able to hide the PP tape now. They're going to have to change what we did, which is going to create a paper trail that I'm warning them. Like when they say it changes back to us again, we're going to find again. So good luck. I'm not telling you they're not going to do it. I'm worried about it, but I'm just telling you, we did a massive amount of change. And I think you're going to see, and I said it on my show, so I feel free telling you how, we're not done. I mean, that Comey indictment, if you think that was the end, like you're out of your mind. Like we're not done.
That was the lowest hanging fruit.
We're not done.
So the grand conspiracy takes away statute of limitations. Here's my question based on everything you just said. What is your degree of confidence that what you learn that is that bad gets resolved and the people are held accountable? I spent years of my life covering all of this shit.
100%.
100%.
100. Not 99.
The evidence is that strong.
Yes. Now, all I can tell you, because again, we were the Federal Bureau of Investigations. We're not the Federal Bureau of Prosecutions. We're not the Federal Bureau of Prisons. All I can tell you is our role, our portion of the accountability equation. 100%. Now I'm saying that because you already saw what happened when you get judges.
That's not accountability.
Well,
you got to be prosecuted.
I know, but you have to remember, like, my role was to make sure this was properly investigated from our end. If a judge just doesn't like us or doesn't like the cases, I'm throwing that out. I mean, you had a judge squash a subpoena for Judge Janine. Like, that never happens. It's out of my control. It's a separate branch of government. Is that a lack of judicial branch accountability? Yes. Is it a lack of executive branch accountability? No. And that's important because then your complaint should be directed in the right place in order to fix it. Like, if we investigated a case, produced PC, got an arrest warrant, and got an indictment, the FBI's job is done. There's nothing more I can do. If a judge throws it out, that's what would frustrate me about a lot of this stuff. Like, I guess blame us if you want. That's fine. But we did what we had to do. That's why I said I'm 100% sure that the investigations Cash and I started that were properly predicated, 100%, we will bring in front of a grand jury, and we got that indictment on Comey. We didn't indict him. The grand jury did.
If you could share with me the 100 pages and the footnotes that you described.
I'm telling you right now,
you'd
skip your show tonight because you wouldn't be able to put it down. It is the best, worst spy novel you've ever read.
I was just going to say that. I'm like, you couldn't even write a spy novel.
Sean, you read it and you're like, there's this one line in there. I wish I could tell you what it is because it jumps out at you right away.
Do you know what a tease that is?
I'm sorry. But there's this one line in there that came from somewhere that just so sums this whole thing up. And there's no plausible deniability after reading this line that you didn't know this thing was fake. There is no way.
How high up? Can you tell me that? Extremely high.
Highest levels. Zero doubt. Zero doubt. And I'm talking about highest levels of the left wing of Congress, people who knew, the White House, they knew. The question on the investigative front too, and again, the accountability question is a good one, and I'm 100% confident. The only issue I think that's going to really be significant going forward is some people were very good at covering their tracks. And is the PC going to be there, the probable cause to get an indictment or criminal complaint on every single person? That I'm not sure about, because it was really a good effort by some, but some were just stupid. And some, I think, really thought Hillary was going to be elected and thought this was all going to go away, because there's no way they would have done it. Because I'm telling you, when you read this stuff, you would have never, I don't care if like Ronald Reagan rose from the dead and told you, Sean, sign this fight, you would have, there's no way.
No way.
No way. No, I went through FISAs on genuine bad guys where they would come in and say, hey, Deputy Cash is out. I forget when we did our signing. It was like one day a week. They'd come in, the lawyers. And I would have layers of lawyers read them first. These guys just willy-nilly just started signing away people's civil liberties on total bullshit.
Just don't forget the case we know, Carter Page. He was a patriot.
Totally made up. The CIA he was wearing, and they hid it.
They knew the dossier was bullshit. It became the predicate. And by the way, Comey signed 3 or 4 out of 4 of them.
This is what's so upsetting. So I'll be sitting at home.
One last thing.
Yeah.
All the people that signed the FISA warrants to backdoor spy on Trump and ruin Carter Page's life, all of them go under oath 2 years later, knowing what you know now, would you still sign the FISA warrant?
Yeah.
Lindsey Graham asked them.
Yeah.
No, not one of them. Well, once they knew it was bullshit, the law requires that they go back to the FISA court and tell them the information they presented was false. They never did it. But yet here they're saying in a congressional hearing they'd never sign it. So they violated the law in that respect.
I mean, think about the difference in how they treated FISA, which I used to call FISA Thor's hammer. It is the most powerful weapon on earth. If you're the subject of a FISA, you're fucked. Like, I'm sorry, like you are. Like there's nowhere to hide. We were the FBI, me and Cash, under President Trump. Now, if President Trump was a fascist and a Nazi and a no king's monarch or whatever they call him now, wouldn't you want to expand that power, correct? You would. You'd want to be able to, right? That's what a fascist would do, right? A fascist doesn't think, I'm not crazy, right? At President Trump's direction with Cash, we made FISA so restrictive and difficult to do because we were so terrified losers like Comey and others would do this again if those people were to get back in power, that the number of queries dropped from something like 50,000 FISA queries to 5. Mm-hmm. To 5,000, not 5,000. The drop was, I think, evidence that Cash and I had reached that balance of civil liberties and securities, because it's a dangerous tool. And yeah, we could FISA everyone and stop every, criminal act ever, like Minority Report with Tom Cruise. That's not the country you live in. We were so terrified of that tool. It's like riding a motorcycle. Like, the safest time on a motorcycle is your first time on it. The more experience you get, the more dangerous you are, because you start to take chances. That's what we never wanted to do, Cash and I. We were so afraid of FISA. We never wanted to forget that feeling. We came in there and we read the documents and these things that we were like, we're fixing this now.
Look, you talk about if they get back in power, and you're saying, of course they come after you, and you're not wrong in any way, shape, or form. The things that I learned, I remember getting a call from a congressman, I won't tell you who, oh, you're in this 302. Why am I there? I've had over nearly 2,000 of my personal text messages released. Jim Jordan told me, oh, by the way, we have evidence now that shows that your social media was suppressed in the lead up to the 2020 election. I mean, I pay my taxes, I obey laws, I do things by the book, I'm like you. And I'm like, wow. And then I was told recently, yeah, it's probably going to come out just like Arctic frost and what they did to congressmen and senators. We think it happened to you too. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I was told.
That was one of my worst days there. But just on the FISA note, because there's a reauth going on right now, I just want to comfort people a little bit too.
I don't think there's any comfort in anything you're saying.
No, I know. Yeah, it's kind of, no, it's hard. This is, hey man, this is like hanging out with Sean. So this isn't, 10 minutes on Hannity at night where we get, we have to fit stuff in quick. I told you I came in with priors. Some of them confirmed, some of them not. I am a FISA dove, let's say, not a FISA hawk. However, I can tell you candidly that without that tool, without the FISA tool, forget it. Like we'll be dead fast. There is zero doubt in my mind. And no one's going to convince, because I read the PDB every day. The President's Daily Brief comes in a little format. Apparently not even allowed to say what the format.
This goes into security risk.
And I would guess 95% of the information in that PDB comes from FISA. Without it, and by the way, very few Americans get caught up in this. I'm just telling you, like, we put a ton of restrictions on this. I want everyone to feel comfortable under this administration. It is 100% not being weaponized. The numbers prove it. But without it, there is no way we would be able to work. No way. I mean, the stuff that comes in is just like, you get numb to it. You really do. Like, you read this stuff I was there the first week and I was like blown away because I couldn't believe all this. And then by week 3, you just become almost numb to it and you just start thinking in spreadsheets. But back to what you were saying about you popping on a 302, at least once or twice a day, we had these 2 guys they were great guys. They're good friends. I'm not knocking them, but they were excitable. Let's just say. They didn't have a lot of law enforcement
Not
experience.
like us. We're not excitable.
No, one of them you may know actually, but very excitable. And one of them's the UFO guy. But the other, when they came into the office.
You're not leaving that seat. So we talk about UFO, Kennedy, MLK, all of it.
So I had a funny story with the Kennedy stuff too. But he comes knocking on the door. And because I was so used to him being excitable, I'm like, what? He knows who he is. And this time he wasn't kidding. Like, it was not that he was ever kidding, but he wasn't being dramatic. He's like, we got a problem. I'm like, what? He's like, we just found these documents.
You just found
these documents. And I'm like, what are they? He goes, I think we were looking at the MUDs, like the phone records on U.S. senators. I'm like, no, tell me you're kidding. He's like, I'm not kidding. He shows me this memo, which I could not believe. And the way we found it was just so weird. Clearly someone made a really good concerted effort to hide it, but we had sleuths everywhere. So we would find stuff behind crypto keys, and we'd be like, find me that crypto key now. So we would find things that were buried and under strange, different names and stuff. And that's why I told you we had to keep some people around who people objected to. You get it? That's how we'd find him. But, he's a bad guy.
We needed Sammy the Bull.
We needed Sammy the Bull. Yes. And now does it make sense? Like that's how we would find these things. So we find this, he slips this thing across and there's, 10 U.S. senators on there in their numbers. I said, call them up. I said, we're going up to Capitol Hill. 30 minutes later, we were in the car with the security detail. I'm sitting in a room with 10 U.S. senators. They went out, did a presser. So it's not a secret. Marsha Blackburn was there. I think it was Dan Sullivan and others. And I'm like, guys, I'm just going to give you these and you look at them. And I said, fire away. We sat there for an hour and I said, we're getting to the bottom of it. The whole squad was dismantled. The investigations were started. People got let go. But like what shocked me again was the way this memo was written was so cavalier. Like they had done this thing. I can't say what it was. Nobody admitted in the memo, like we're spying on these U.S. senators' phones.
When we're not on camera, you're going to give me all the details, right?
Maybe. The way the memo was written was one of these, again, like once you got over the stupidity of it, you couldn't believe this happened. It was like you needed 10 chits for a thing. So to get the 10 chits, you said you did this thing and you included these names as if it was like the guy making bagels on the corner. But the person who did it, I got to tell you, I'm not even sure realized the connection between the 10 people. Mm-hmm. You and I are in this game. We see Marsha Blackburn. We're like, I got to tell you, at one point I wasn't even sure. We found out later, but I'm like, you put that down. I ran right up the Capitol Hill because Cash and I could not get this stuff out quick enough. If it came in and we would go over to like OGA and we would be like, hey guys, is there anything classified? If there was nothing classified, it went right up the Capitol Hill.
Let me ask you this. Why, for example, what you read that so shocked you and that you think might even come back to bite you, why can't that be released publicly?
This is what's hard to tell people. Some of it's not ours to release.
What do you mean? It's your burn bag.
No, I know it's our burn bag. But so the FBI is the lead counter-terror organization in the world and counter-intel.
Right.
It's not like, in Secret Service, we did financial crimes, credit card fraud, but we shared that with the FBI. And, DEA could probably do it too if they wanted to. And that's not CT. Counter-terror, CDD, counter-terror division, that's us. We run it and that's it. So people share things with us and there are equities at stake. And I don't say this lightly, like people could be killed if that were to get out there. And believe me, I'm not smoking you up. Some of this stuff is not dated. Like, yeah, it's dated. No, it's not dated. It's like a constant. Do you get what I'm saying? I hope I'm explaining.
I'm getting it.
These are active channels. You can't just throw it out. You can't. One, the channel shut down and we're screwed. And second, no one would ever trust it with us again. That's, again, what was so disappointing about what I read, because we had so abused some of this stuff. And I think they abused it because they knew this would be a level A problem for us. Let me explain what I mean. Or I call on my show level 10 problems. Here's what I mean. There's a shitty answer, right? And a shittier answer. There's no good answer. It's not even a remotely good answer. Here were our choices. Release this to the public, burn a source that could prevent a terror attack tomorrow, and let the terror attack happen, or don't release it to the public, all of it, be accused of hiding something on it, but still get to the bottom of it and know that it was the right thing to do, but you are going to be beat up anyway. And the answer is you got to get beat up. You don't get paid over there to do what's right for your reputation. It's not reputation management. You get paid to do the right thing. And if you get kicked in the balls, then that's the way it rolls.
It's interesting because you got frustrated. And honestly, I actually sense still some frustration, although I sense you have enough distance from it now that you're good and you just feel good about what you did. You know, you did your best work. I know you're not worried about the consequences in the end, and this is what was frustrating for me. It was frustrating to me for you because all these keyboard warriors, again, just start with the 12 plus million illegals, unvetted, 200 countries, known terrorists, murderers, rapists, child molesters. Okay, you have to deal with those people on day one. Big enough problem in and of itself. Then the expectations, we're going to get to the bottom of UFOs and JFK and MLK, and we're going to release all of these files and meet. Okay. You don't just get to release it. You have to go through every page. In many instances, there are millions of pages. But you have a day job, and the day job is to make sure Americans don't get killed. People forgot that. You got to get the narco-terrorists. You got to get the child molesters. You got to get the child traffickers. Not exactly, one item on your agenda. And then people, and it frustrated me for you because I know you. I know you're gulping water. I know Cash is gulping water. I know you're not sleeping. I know how hard this is. And there are people on our side. They wouldn't even give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, this is the same guy. And you actually, you addressed this. What did you say? You said, I've been in the public eye as a commentator since 2011, 12. When you work in administration, it's not about you. You didn't get elected. The president got elected, et cetera, et cetera. Every day, constant standard. And then people say, Bongino, you changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I am your star witness. You haven't changed a bit.
No.
You learned a lot more.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference.
Yeah.
Explain that.
You know,
I think that frustrated you. It frustrated me for you.
We chatted a lot when I was in there, and yes, you are correct. It is frustrating. You want to be able to say, here's why this person's here and this person isn't. Here's why, you know, I listen, I know that what's the, you know, the bête noir, like the beast. And there was always like the, you know, Epstein. And I don't think people understand, like we were dealing with 6E grand jury material. We were dealing with victims, victims' names. There was, you know, it was, from the day we got in, I mean, this has been publicly reported over and over again in so many different outlets.
4 years, not one person asked a single question of Merrick Garland.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious if you followed the news cycle that, you know, I was really concerned about getting as much out as we could from day one. Listen, was the thing handled great? No, it wasn't handled. Everyone will tell you that now. You know, I think everyone now in hindsight, you know, realizes that the push to get as much out was the right way to go. That's always where I was on this. But it was frustrating because there's a tendency, and I said this when I got out, there's a tendency amongst people in public life, and I see it a lot, and I always promised myself if I was ever in a position of power, I was not going to do this. Sean, I know I did the right thing in there. I know I'm telling you, I have no regrets other than answering Lawrence Jones's question, honestly. That's that's it. I have zero regrets, or like that tattoo commercial, regrets. No regrets. I don't. I know what I did, and I had two things on my side. The first is don't over-explain yourself, and I'll get to that in a second. But the second part is it's coming out now as I'm seeing it, as it's, you know, because I'm seeing it filter out. I just saw an article in the New York Times the other day about this, but people talk in DC. I'm not one of them, but people do. And it's all starting to come out. And when this magic year we had at the FBI with the crime rate and everything else and all these reforms, as this filters out and books are written and things like that, I mean, authors call me all the time. I'm writing this book about your push on a Supreme Court case. I'm writing this book about, I got a call the other day from a guy. He's a major guy. He's writing a book. I'm like, I'm passing. I'm not talking about your book. Write your own book, whatever. But, I know the story when the full story comes out. I am absolutely confident that the people watching this show are going to be like, that's my guy. And you're right. He didn't change at all. Like he really went in there and did what he said he was going to do. But back to point one, I promised I would never be an over-explainer. This is a common problem. Peggy Noonan wrote about this in the Wall Street Journal. It was actually a very good piece. But it's funny. I've been watching videos about this for the longest time. I love these kind of, leadership videos. And, I'm always into self-improvement, things like that. It's one of the biggest mistakes leaders make. They have this need to be understood because they feel like it's going to change something. The answer is when you're leading an organization, like sometimes in the FBI, for example, not sometimes, a lot of times. I'll give you a quick and easy one. I changed the PT test. Pull-ups were optional. I'm like, no, not optional. We're doing pull-ups. And I explained to them my reasoning. I grounded it, in the science and the data. I'd spoken to people before. And it's one person and it was a very, high ranking person, but, there was only one person I answered to, and that's Cash. So I didn't really have, and just wouldn't let it go. Asked me about 10 times I was doing it. Finally, at the end, they said, because I'm doing it. And you're going to implement it, or you can leave your position. How does that sound? Door's right behind you. That's it. Do not over-explain. Because people who understand you and know what I'm made of, and I'm telling you, like the history books, when you read them, you're going to have a whole different story. The people who know you will be vindicated, like you, and be like, that was my guy. And the people who hate you, the clowns, the asshats, the jokers, the popcorn throwers who never get in the ring themselves, it doesn't matter what you say. Sean, it doesn't make a difference. You are wasting your time. People who know you don't care, and people who hate you don't care either. Tell them why you made the decision. Make it quick, make it concise, and move the fuck on, because neither one of those groups care. You notice I came back to my show. I did a couple stories on this, couple stories. I knew that, people want to hear about the Epstein thing. That was it. I moved on. I am not talking about this stuff. If you believe me, you believe me. If you don't, you don't. You don't have to listen to my show. It's not a prison cell. It's fine.
It's funny because my staff would ask me, would you want to have a debate about whether we should have gone and whether Iran was a threat. They're 12 days away from weapons-grade enriched uranium, according to Steve Witkoff, who I've known for years, like you, and I trust and I believe, and they're telling us they have it. Okay. Too big a risk. I don't think the president had a choice. For the people that I call them the isolationists, first you have people that want Trump to fail. Democrats, liberal media, they hate him. Then you have the isolationists, stick their head in the sand, learn nothing from the last century, 100 million dead people. I'm like, no. I said, I'm not going to convince them, and I don't care because they're stupid. If you want mullahs in Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror, to potentially break out, well, in as little as 2 weeks, and you want to hand off that country, that America, to your kids and grandkids, I have nothing to say to you. You're stupid. You are dumb.
You ever see Men in Black? Will Smith has the mind wipe device.
Wipe
this
away.
is that. This is that time. I wish that was a real thing, because when I really went
Wait a minute, you didn't find that there?
No, that's not real. That's not up there with the cell phone tech or anything like that. I wish it was, but I really wish we could get the globe on one big simulcast and unload the PDB on them, on Iran, every day, and just say, guys, we're going to wipe you out. Because at least in the 30 minutes when we were doing it and giving them the brief, for at least that 30 minutes, they'd be like, wow, President Trump's not only right. I'm telling you, even the most hardcore dove and libertarian, who I love libertarians. I love libertarians. I'm a conservatarian myself. Even the most hardcore dove would be like, wow, we better move yesterday. And then you wipe them and you'd be done.
Okay, I want to ask you. So, based on stuff without giving any specific details, presidential daily briefing, no option the president had to do the Iran operation.
Zero doubt.
Zero. I agree.
Zero. There is zero doubt in my mind.
Every source
what
I
he did
talked to told me the same thing.
Zero. Talk to Pete. Pete will tell you the exact same thing. Pete, talk to Feinberg. Talk to anybody. Talk to Ratcliffe. Talk to Michael.
That know and that have. There are some dumb people around the president.
Here's the problem, and I can share this because it's all public now. You know about Midnight Hammer and everything, but after Midnight Hammer, where we took out their nuclear facilities, I wouldn't say anything was a consensus, but there was an opinion out there that maybe President Trump's actually very diplomatic. I'm going to give you guys a shot. We're going to hit, but we didn't wipe out anything. Wipe out anything leadership wise. We wiped out their facilities. This should be a wake up call to you guys. We're going to give you a shot, even though he knew they were crazy. They were theocrats and ideologues, but he gave them a shot after that. I think there was a perception out there that maybe they'll have that road to Damascus moment, and they didn't. And if they didn't have the road to Damascus moment and they were willing to die to create a nuclear weapon after having facilities wiped out, what does that tell you they wanted?
A nuclear weapon.
Thank you. Questions answered, bro. You don't need to hear anything else.
This is why my staff was like, why don't you debate? Because I think they're stupid. And I don't want to debate stupid.
It is stupid. And I am a hardened conservatarian. I am very skeptical. When I ran for office, I ran against the Iraq war. You can go and look. I have a documented history of this. I did not change if I thought I'll never forget. I was in a sit room meeting with, Joe Kent at the time there, and Tulsi was there.
By the way, what he said back in the day.
You don't know what he's talking about. I'm sorry. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He never aired any of these concerns to me. I don't know what he's talking about.
He said the exact opposite. So posted it as it was reported.
And him suggesting he was in these meetings is just nonsense. It's just not true. I don't know what meetings he was in with him, because the pre-war planning meetings, Cash didn't even go to a lot of those meetings if they didn't have an FBI nexus. But you'd be sitting in these meetings, and they're always open to new opinions. And I don't ever remember anybody at these meetings saying hey, this isn't a grave, immediate threat. These guys are dead set on getting a nuclear threat. They are not building, fMRI, PET scan nuclear technology. They want to kill us, and they've said they want to kill us. And even after we turned their facilities into dust. They still want to kill us. Like, do you want to get killed or not? That's the only question. Wait, one quick thing too. My wife made it up one weekend. And, you know, we didn't go out a lot because, you know, the security detail, and it was just weird. Like, you go to the movie theater, you got 5 guys sitting around you and everybody's staring at you. You don't even know who you are. They just know it's like big guys staring around you. So,
life changes a lot there.
Oh man, it changed your life. It was the only time I was ever in Playbook Spotted. I was in the Georgetown AMC movie theater, and Bongino was at it was the only time I was ever in. Someone saw me coming at it. But this movie House of Dynamite on Netflix. It's Catherine Bigelow. She's a little bit of a lefty, but the movie's fascinating because when you see the inside, like I did, at that level, the PD level, the principal deputy level. The movie's about a nuclear launch to the United States. It's, you know, a lot of it's dramatized. However, the FBI has a significant role if there were a nuclear incident. I don't want to get into it, but we have a very significant role. So I know what the system looks like. I'm comfortable that the system is set up, but there's not a lot of practice. Like, you don't go, oh, launch a nuclear, let's see how it's going to roll. Like, it doesn't work. So you don't really know, thankfully. So I made sure that I met with these guys and multiple times, and they know that. And I was like, walk me through this again. No, like again. And I see this movie, House of Dynamite, and the movie, forget about the nuclear launch. It's about like the social dynamics of how that works. Like little things happen. Like the national security advisors getting a colonoscopy and they can't reach them. Folks, that's DC.
Yeah.
That's DC. Like there are times in DC where there's 5, 10, 15 minutes where you can't find someone. And if a nuclear weapon gets launched from Iran and they develop some kind of hypersonic technology they get from the CCP or something like that, and you have minutes to respond, we'd all be dead. I don't think people understand. You think there's hours? You think people are going to be sitting around, hey, Mr. President? I mean, that's not the way this is going to roll. I mean, that night, the Israeli staffers were shot in D.C. It was Janine's first night on the job. I'm sitting there in my apartment, and I can't hear anything out of one ear from the earpiece. No. You probably can't either with all the radio, right? It's a radio.
I'm totally deaf.
Folks, we're all deaf in the radio industry from these freaking headphones. So I can't hear shit. So I'm sitting there, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I go to sleep at like 9:30. I'm an early bird, right? These guys had been pounding on my door for 5 minutes.
Wow.
5 minutes. Finally, they take the key and they're like, hey, boss. And I'm like, what? I get up. Like, I don't even have the freaking drawers on, you know, I'm sleeping. I'm like, what? They're like, hey, we got an emergency. I'm like, what happened? They're like, 2 Israeli diplomats were just shot in the street in D.C. and we think it's a terror hit. I'm like, okay. I'm like, and Sean, I got to tell you, it took me like a minute, which sounds like a short amount of time, but it's an eternity to process what he just said. I woke up from the deepest of sleep and I'm like, all right, I'm like, give me a minute. And it took me probably another 2 minutes to throw a pair of pants on, the FBI jacket, whatever. I run outside. It takes us another 8, 9 minutes to get over there. By the time I get over there and I saw Pam and Janine, they were doing a presser and everything like that. I mean, I just want people to understand, like, just getting back to the original question with Iran. I promise you, like, if President Trump could tell you what he knows, there is zero doubt in my mind, a random pool of 100 people from every political persuasion would be like, he did the right thing. I have zero doubt.
That's what frustrates me because people don't want him to succeed. They got their own agenda. And there's just a lot of people. I always thought throughout my career, Nazi analogies were overused and I never used them. However, in this case, it's applicable. If you could stop Hitler, neutralize him before he killed millions, would you do it? Fair? Is that applicable here? That the potential of a modern nuclear holocaust? Fair?
There is zero doubt about that. I mean, when you look at the Sudetenland, when you look at Austria, when you look at the way it took them like just a couple of weeks to take out the Polish army, you know, yeah, and Godwin's law, like Hitler analogies are really overdone, typically against us. But to associate the Iranians with the at least sociopathological behavior of the Nazi regime, I would argue the Iranians are as bad. The Iranians have a nuclear weapon. He didn't have that. The Nazi, you know, Goring and Eichmann, you know, and Boers, they didn't have all that. They want a nuclear weapon that could take out Chicago. And they are as crazy as it is insane to ask us to put up with that threat. And listen, President Trump's not going to, he'll tell you, like he loves history. He's not a historian. I'm not either, but he loves history. And I think he's, when he reads this stuff, he likes to hear about what prior presidents, and he hears about, Chamberlain. I think President Trump understands, like, he is going to take a short-term political hit on this because people don't like war, understandably. President Trump knows he's doing the right thing, and he knows when these history books are written that if he didn't do this, and there was a counterfactual, he just left Iran alone, that there is zero doubt there's a mushroom cloud over a U.S. city, history books would blame him forever. 100%. They would pin it right on him. It would 100% be his legacy. He's not doing it. He's not going to let you die. He's not doing it.
I don't, what I know, and I don't know as much as you, it was not even close. And just knowing what they had and their fanatical mindset, it's a death cult. That's why I don't want to like debate stupid people. I'm like, I don't have any reason. I was thinking about this I was sitting up last night thinking about, number one, it's great to hang out with a friend that I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, man. I haven't seen you in person in a long time.
I'm like reading your bio. I'm like 4 years NYPD, 12 years Secret Service, talk radio host, podcasting, top of the class, Fox News, best-selling author, 4 bestsellers. You're a business guy. You own a part of Rumble. Maybe, am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
You had Parler. You do great business work. Gave all of it up to sacrifice for your country. You build a media empire. You ran for the Senate and House. Okay, I tried to help, We
almost pulled that one off, man. Thanks to you.
It was pretty close.
Yeah, it was pretty close.
It was pretty close. And you stopped everything you're doing to do this. And on top of it all, in, 2020, I remember having a very hard conversation with you.
Yeah.
You had cancer.
Yeah.
And you beat cancer.
Yeah, man. That was really hard.
You have Hodgkin's lymphoma.
I did. So you got me. That was, yeah, man.
Are you getting emotional?
Yeah, it's weird because it's funny. It's like talking about my mother-in-law. It's like one of these things I love my mother-in-law. She kind of like became like a surrogate mom to me, and she's going through a lot right now with, just dementia.
That word, Don Imus said, that C word takes the air out of your lungs.
Every time I talk about it, I think it gets easier, and it doesn't. I just, I was just sitting there one day getting ready for Fox and Friends. It was an early hit, which I rarely did, but they were packed that day and said, can you do a 6:30 hit? So, I do like the MMA stuff like you do. And I had gotten choked out pretty bad the day before. When I was young, I got choked out a lot, but not so much. And this one, I got choked out pretty bad. This guy Harlan, man, he got me good. Black belt, pretty good guy. And
when he says choked out, he means...
Oh yeah, like out. Like he's got my legs up in here, like getting the blood going back to my head. And I hadn't been choked out like that in a really long time.
Why do you let yourself get choked out? It's called tapping. You're not in an octagon.
Typically given my bad arthritis, I do tap early, tap often. However, that became like a big scandal in the FBI. That rolled with the guys. That was like the funniest story ever. Like, yeah,
so you did this when you were deputy.
Oh yeah, I was rolling with the boys. Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah, I got a little banged up, and I became like a big New York Times. Dan Bongino hurts his show. It's so ridiculous. But I'm rolling with this guy, and he was so good. He caught me in this choke so fast. Like, honestly, there's no time to tap out. Like all I did was see star. I didn't even feel anything. All I remember was like him with my legs up. You pull the leg to get the blood flowing.
If they get it in the right spot.
Oh yeah, it was done.
You're out in no time.
So I get up the next morning. That's how it relates to this story. And I'm shaving for Fox and Friends. And it's like 6:15. I'm like you. I get in the chair 6:30, like 6:28. They're always texting me, you got to get in the chair. Sean show starts at 8:59 and 59 seconds. I can't believe, like, you're amazing at that.
No.
Am I not supposed to say that?
No, what most friends will tell you is how.
He'll be in his office doing show prep.
I am actually live on the air.
They're like, where's Sean? Oh, hey, nobody worries about it. So I think I was doing a guest hit with you one time, and I'm getting nervous because I'm the first guest, and I swear it's like 8:58, and no one's nervous at all in the studio. I'm like, guys, this is like a show starting with no host. Like, am I? And I go, no, he'll be here. Fine. Like, no, he doesn't. He's like, he's doing the show prep in his office. Boom, you were there in a heartbeat. So
59:30.
59:30. He's in the chair every time. But I was the same way with the Fox hits. So it's like 6:15. I'm getting a text. So I'm rushing shaving. I go like this, and I'm like, what the hell's that on my neck? And I'm thinking like, man, I had some hematoma. Like I must have burst a blood vessel from getting choked out. It was a huge like mass. And I'd never seen it before. So I have this doctor friend, Steve. He's like an amazing guy, my best friend. He's a head and neck surgeon, but he does plastic surgery now, but he did head and neck surgery. I call him and I take a picture. I go, hey, what's this thing in my neck? He's like, dude, like WTF. And he's a doctor. He didn't even talk like that. He goes, get to my office right away. So I pop into his office. And this is during like peak COVID, right? So none of the hospitals are taking like MRIs or anything like that. He goes, Dan, I don't know what that is, but that shouldn't be there. And he said, I need you to get an MRI. He calls up the Cleveland Clinic. Thank God, Cleveland Clinic, the doctor's a huge fan of Fox, and the MRI tech too. They take me right in, like that day. The doctor goes, don't even worry about me reading it. I'll do it live. Read it there. Wow. This guy, Todd, super nice guy, a radiation oncologist. I get in the machine. Sean, I got to tell you, I'm not worried at all. I think it's a hematoma or a fatty. You get fatty tumors all the time. You get them cut out. They're not cancerous. So you go in the machine, they put the cage on your face, the MRI. I'm in the machine. All I'm thinking about is like a Morgan Wallen concert or something. I'm like, what the hell? Or whatever I was doing back then. I get out of the machine. I look up and, your face is in the cage. So he came in. I'm like, hey, Todd. I'm like, it's a fatty tumor, right? He's like, you need to get dressed. And I said, why? He's like, you need to get dressed. So he takes me back in the office and he says, fat on an MRI is white or gray. He said, look at that. And it was black. He said, I can't tell you what that is, but I can tell you what it isn't. It's not a fatty tumor. And I knew. And I started. I mean, it was bad, man. I went out in the parking lot. And I just like called my wife. And I just, man, I got to tell you, brother, I was crying like a kid, like a kid cries. Adults don't. Adults like, you get a little welling in the eyes. And I was crying like a kid. Like I could not, because I couldn't believe it. Because I just didn't want to die. I mean, you never think about it. Like, I know you're going to die. You know you're going to die. We all have an expiration date, but I don't need to know what it is. And I thought to myself, like, that's a 10-centimeter tumor in your neck. Like, you're going to die. And all I kept thinking about was like, my daughter, my youngest was, I don't know, 9 at the time. And my other was 17. I'm like, I'm not going to see her wedding. I'm like, I'm not going to meet my grandkids. And then weird things start going through your head, like I was driving home on Canner Highway and they'd had this big construction site and no one knew what was going up in there. And I remember thinking, man, I'm never going to see what like goes up in there. Like I'll be dead. I just freaked out, man. I never felt that way in my life. And I went through this like 1 or 2 day period. I had to tell my kids. And then you just get back to fight mode. You're like, F it, man. Like if I'm going out, and luckily it took a few weeks to get a biopsy and Dr. Singh up in New York, one of the best guy, he was in Sloan Kettering. They took the tumor out. They had to do an open biopsy. So he cut the whole thing out of my neck. I have a picture of it. It's disgusting. It looks like a football in my neck. And I told him, take a damn picture. I want to see it. And he got the whole thing. And luckily it was stage 1 and it only spread a little bit. And, so far, knock on wood, I'm like 5 years clean. But, I was chatting with the lovely makeup lady before the show who knows my makeup artist. And I said to her, man, I live in fear, though, every day. Like I drink this like deuterium depleted water. I take tons of vitamin C. I like change my whole diet. Sean, I'm telling you, man, whoever told you that about the cancer, and then you go to, like, I went out to, hooked me up, Carl Rove, man. I still to this day appreciate that. I had an issue and Carl was like, I want you to go to MD Anderson. I know the people out there. I couldn't believe, like, I didn't know Carl that well. I know but he just, out of the kindness of his heart, like connected me with him. And they brought me in there and it was the best cancer care in the world. But you're sitting in there and I was doing my radiation there. And
we talked a lot then.
Oh man, you got me through it.
We talked a lot.
And you see these 13-year-old kids, they wheel them in on stretchers with leukemia, no hair. You know they're going to be dead in 6 months. And Sean,
I can't take it.
I'm telling you, man, it was the first time, I thank God, I had that cancer. All of a sudden, your cancer's bullshit. That's what saved me.
Listen, I had a cousin. This is going back. He was a former NYPD officer.
Yeah.
And he was in his 30s. Had the same thing. They didn't cure it back then. Cancer you have now is, I think, about 80 to 90% curable.
Yeah.
Especially, and if you got it early, like in your case.
Stage 1.
It doesn't stop your knees from buckling. I just know too many people that have been through this, including my own mother and my own father that died. My father died 30 years ago. Yeah. And like, man, it'll stop you on a dime. You know the Tim McGraw song, Live Like You're Dying?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Rocky Mountain Climbing.
Yeah.
2.7 seconds. I haven't been on a bull. That was a tough time. Does it change you?
It did, but I mean, of course, I mean, you never look at your own life the same way again, because when you see your life, most people don't see it as an expiration date, at all. But when you realize that expiration date could be tomorrow if you were to get news like that, and this is what really hit me. Like, I only broke down twice. It was obviously I told you the first time when I got the MRI and I found out. I couldn't believe it. Like I said, I almost couldn't control. I couldn't believe what was happening. Cause I went from like, it's a fatty tumor to like, you could die. And that just is not a thing. I didn't even know how to emotionally process it. But I'm coming home from Sloan Kettering up in New York, and they were great. And I've got this big patch on my neck because there was a big cut in my neck. And I'm on a plane, and I had been fine for like 3-4 weeks. I knew I had a fight ahead, and it was okay. Still didn't know what kind of cancer it was. But I'm on a plane and I'm reading on my phone, and there's a guy sitting like catty corner to me, and he knows who I am. He knows who I am, and he must know, because he must listen to my show. He knows what I'm going through. So he looked at me when I got on a plane, but he didn't say anything. You probably get this. He didn't say anything, and he's sitting right there.
You know when people notice you.
Oh yeah. My joke with Paula is like, they don't commit. Like, they'll sit there and say, but they won't come over. That's all a joke about. He's not committing. Like, he's like, so he's looking at me, and I'm reading my phone, and I'm reading like survival rate for lymphoma. And they said that if you get it at stage 1, which I did, Hodgkin's, that you have an 80% chance of living 5 years. Now, most people would read that with cancer and go, wow, that's great. That's not the way I read it. I read it that I have a 1 in 5 chance of dying in 5 years. And you could see Paula was like rubbing the back of my head because she knew what I was reading, because I showed it to her and she read it the same way. And the guy looked at me and he just did one of these. Like, I got you, man. To that guy, if you're listening, you know who you were. I don't know you, but thank you, because whatever you didn't do, he didn't even say anything, but he just kind of knew. It was like God sent him there. Like, something happened to me. I love God. I love Jesus so much, even though I fail him so often. But like, we had a just tragedy in my family just last week. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a mood buster, but bad. Like, something nobody saw coming. I don't really want to talk about it, but I hit it I told people on the show I may need a little bit of time. And,
this is your mother-in-law?
No, it's not my mother-in-law, although that's not great either. We're dealing with a lot, and we have been.
You don't have to tell me.
But we have this guy who comes over and does some help for us, and it's the weirdest thing. He comes over the other day. He has no idea about any of this. He doesn't even watch the show. And he says, I brought chicken soup, and I don't know like why, but I think I should just bring you guys chicken soup. I said, you're kidding, right? He's like, why? He's like, did I do something wrong? I'm like, no. I'm like, that's I swear it was some divine inspiration. He just randomly showed up with like chicken soup out of it's so not, and it was good chicken soup. But I'm telling you, like, Paula started crying, like really crying, drinking her little like LaCroix seltzer with the thing. And she's like, I can't eat this right now. Like, I needed that so bad. And she started crying. And I was like, man, God just works in funny ways. He sent me that guy. I'm telling you, he gave me the nod. You know the nod.
I know the nod. All right, I tried Riverbend Ranch Beef at Christmas. They're Angus steaks. They are incredible, delicious, juicy, and they're marbling of these steaks. For example, I got a new box right here. I'm so grateful. I will be grilling this tonight. This is their ribeye. Now, there is a reason their steaks are so superior to other beef in the marketplace. For the past 35 years, Riverbend Ranch, they have been scouring the country. They use ultrasound technology, imagine this, to identify genetically superior Angus cattle with a focus on flavor and tenderness, and they use only the top 1 or 2% of the entire Angus population as their breeding stock, producing beef that has much more flavor, much more tender, better than your average Angus beef. For example, the New York strip. I love New York strip. You have it right there. They have this Denver steak. You know what? I just tried it. I'm like, I love it. It's amazing. Now, that is saying a lot because Angus beef, famous for its flavor, its tenderness. This is the best. Riverbend Ranch has taken Angus beef to an entirely new level. These are the best steaks you are ever going to eat. And each steak aged to perfection, 21 days. And by the way, I love supporting American ranchers. All Riverbend Ranch cattle, born and raised right here in the USA, never use growth hormones, no antibiotics, and the beef is processed right at the ranch in their award-winning USDA-inspected processing facility, so you avoid all the costly middlemen because the beef is sent directly from Riverbend Ranch right to your home. You can order their beef. Go to riverbendranch.com, riverbendranch.com, and I'm telling you, they have the most spectacular steak bundles. Makes great gifts for friends, family, people in your business that you work with. Order today, riverbendranch.com. Now, if you use the promo code Hannity, here's my ribeye. I'm going to try the ribeye tonight. Okay, here's the ribeye. If you use the promo code Hannity, you get $15 off your first order. And you're going to love the taste. You're going to love their beef. And you, like me, will be a customer for life. I can tell you this as a friend. I mean, I get more religious, spiritual every day. And I realize my whole life has been an undeserved life and a blessing. And I just, I'm looking at you and, went through, podcaster, radio host, author, NYPD, Secret Service, Deputy FBI Director, battles through cancer. I don't think God's done with damn Bongino yet. That's my conclusion. As painful as some of that is, I think this is why I think your voice is so important. All right. I think we've been going like 2 hours, but I cannot let you leave this chair without asking you questions.
Yeah, go. I swear to you, I thought we were talking like 45 minutes.
No.
That is crazy.
No, not even close. Okay. I don't know how much you can tell me, but I want you to tell me as much as you can tell me. Let's start with UFO.
So when I get in there, we were dealing with so much stuff. We already talked about personnel, crossfire, leakers, whatever. It had always been a curiosity to me, but candidly, it was not the first thing I didn't get to it till I was there a little bit. Matter of fact, I didn't get to it until sitting in the office. And as I told you, I'd always get a knock on the door. And one of those two guys who was excitable, but very, very good person comes knocking on the door and it's like, hey, boss, you have got to get this briefing. I'm like, what? He's like, the UFO thing. I'm like, let's call him Joe. That's not his name. I'm like, Joe, he's like, no, trust me. So that sounds like a big setup for a big thing, right? But now my chief of staff, who I had brought in from the outside, is like me, military office. Well, no, I wasn't in the military, but I mean, like, we have the same, like, kind of like spreadsheets mentality. Like, I don't get into hysteria. Just the facts, Jack. Like, I'm like Joe Friday when I do like, cop stuff. Just give me the facts. So we go in and we get the briefing, the same briefing you have members of Congress about. This is why I get so upset at some of these members, because you can do some more homework on this. And the UFO thing, I'll tell you this. There are a lot of the stuff you're seeing out there that you see on X or TikTok or elsewhere. A lot of the videos, when you get the briefing, are very easily explainable. And my fear here is that and believe me, like I said, I'm a skeptic both ways. Explain it. And if you're going to explain it, show me the math. Like, don't just tell me, I think. Tell me what you know. And if you don't know, say you don't know. The problem is some of the folks in this space their priors will dictate the outcome. Like, if they really believe in it, they'll assume something. But if you go to other people, you'll figure out that a lot of what you're seeing out there on X is easily explainable. Some of it, however, is not. That does not mean these are extraterrestrial beings from another world. But I will tell you, there were a couple of them where you're getting a brief from, let's just say, an Army major who is like squared away, buttoned up, This is not some guy like prone to hyperbolic language. In some cases, you're getting briefings from people who were there, and you're like, all right. And then I would look over at my chief of staff, who was skeptical of all this. You know, there was one. I'll give you one on both sides. Well, I already gave you that. There was one that involved a direct witness to some of the stuff that was very strange. There may be an explanation. I wouldn't jump to any conclusions on it. However, it was odd, and there was enough measurement of it. Like, it was quite odd that this had happened. But there was another one where there was just a very excitable guy who like brought us in, and, you know, keep in mind, like, not that I was very humble about it, but don't waste my time. Like, I'm the D2. Like, I got shit to do.
I got work to do.
Yeah. And my chief of staff like hated it. You know, he's like, and they're showing me like this light, like on a lake. And I'm like, well, what is that? Like, it's like a light on a lake. And I'm like, that could be a dude at like a campfire in the woods. Like, it did not look like anything strange to me at all. So I will leave it at that some of this stuff is very, very, very difficult to explain away by campfires, drones.
All right, let me go a little deeper. Let me push a little harder. Anything that our government knows that is so classified that you couldn't see?
Me as the deputy? No.
Yeah, you could see everything.
Yes.
And
on that, yeah.
And you did look.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing, I'm sure.
There's nothing, like, we don't have an alien body.
No.
Close encounters.
No, I mean, we could.
What does your gut tell you?
Well, I shouldn't say that because you don't know what you don't know. The president can see everything. He's the ultimate declassification authority. So I shouldn't say that. I'll just leave it at, I only know what I know, and I was given access to a pretty broad.
See, I've asked him a couple of times as a friend, not in any professional capacity. And he's not as interested in it. I'm like, why are you not demanding an answer? I want to know. Just ask for me.
Because I think when there's a, you know, Holman Jenkins does a really good write-up at this in the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
The Wall Street Journal kind of is not the most MAGA outlet, but that's fine. Like, I like the paper. I've been reading the op-ed column since I'm 18. I don't think I've missed one since. But Holman Jenkins has a really, really amazing series of pieces in the op-ed section. Just put in any outlet, WSJ.com, Jenkins, UFOs. He's got at least 10 pieces on this. My humble opinion, if you want to really understand why the president, others in the national security infrastructure are very careful with this topic, he has the best explanation out there by far.
And
you have to be very, very careful because foreign adversaries listen to this stuff. That's why guys like me in a position of responsibility don't go off half-cocked and be like, hey, man, look, there's some shit out there, but I'm not going to tell. I'm telling you the truth. There's some stuff that's bizarre. I'm not telling you it's not explainable. Matter of fact, a couple of them that we even thought were bizarre had a pretty innocent explanation later. And as measurement and AI gets better, I think more and more of these things will be explainable. But I'm telling you, a large swath of what you're seeing on the internet is very,
it
very
can be convincing, though.
If you look up parallax, it'll knock out 90% of these things. The parallax effect.
Okay.
You think you're seeing something moving fast. You're not. You're seeing a camera moving fast. You're not seeing something. That's not all of them. I'm just telling you, like, it's a lot. But you got to be very careful. It doesn't
contradict anything in the Bible. If you look up whether or not, God created the heavens and the earth, it doesn't talk about whether or not God may have created other life on other planets, whatever, or other universes, because we have universes within universes. All right. Because I'm not going to take all your time. You've been it's great to have you. It's good to catch up.
This is my first long form interview in, really, really, I haven't done an interview this long in, I think, forever. I don't think I've interviewed anyone this long on my
set the record?
By far.
All right. What can you tell us? There's got to be a reason nobody really deep down wants to release the JFK files. There's got to be something. And this is because I've studied it a lot. And I've seen the autopsy photos. I've read every book. I've been to the grassy knoll. I went there to cover it. And I don't know. You would know more about ballistics than I do. You watch the shot, then you see the hole. Magic bullet is bullshit. There's no way that bullet would react that way, in my opinion. If you disagree, tell me. There's more to the story. I don't know if they figured it out, didn't figure it out, didn't want to figure it out, whether or not there's a foreign entity involved. A lot of suspicion, maybe Russia. Why did Jack Ruby kill Oswald? It's just too weird to me.
Yeah, listen, I agree it's weird. And the problem, obviously, with the case is the passage of time. And not like in the Kamala Harris, the passage of time. I mean like the real passage, like her, couldn't think of it.
She's a real wordsmith. She's a genius. Yeah.
The bus goes round and round, the wheels on the bus.
Because time
and the passage
is passing, and we're all passing through time.
But in this case, it's actually true. I mean, you're not going to go out and be able to get DNA from a scene that's decades upon decades old. So we released the JFK files went out. And, it's an interesting story because I was only there, I think like 3 days or 4 days or so. And I'm sitting in my apartment. I don't even think I had a bed yet. I think there was a mattress on the floor. And I'm sitting there and they go to the deputy before they go to cash for this stuff. And I get a call from Whizzer, the White House Situation Room. They're like, hey, they'll call usually the duty phone, the security phone. And they're like, hey, Whizzer's looking for you. I'm like, about what? It was like 9:00 at night. And it was a call about the release and the pending release of the JFK files. So, the deputy over at CIA, who I'd been friends with forever, long before he was a deputy over there, I'm pretty sure he was on that call too. And it wasn't anything, it was just more mechanics, like how this is going to go and all this other stuff. And like I said, I've been there 3 days. I'm like drinking from a freaking flaming fire hose with juggling chainsaws while, someone's hitting me with a ruler, Sister Ellen's tapping me with a ruler on the back of my head or something. She's my 3rd grade teacher. And, this call goes on for like 20 minutes and someone says like, Deputy Director Bongino, your thoughts on this thing. And I could not have been more, I'm like, guys, I've been here for about 72 hours. I'm like, I'm going to defer to you all that you guys think this is the best bet. And all I can say is everybody at phone it was like one of those moments. Everybody turned from so serious to like laughing about like, okay, good. This guy's human and he's not trying to be like a poser. Like he's admitting he's only been here 3 days. And so we figured it out. It wasn't even a big deal what we were chatting about, but I've seen this from 2 angles. So having gone through and been an instructor in the Secret Service Academy, we used the Zapruder film, obviously, as a training device. Obviously, don't let this happen again. There's a ton of things we learned from that, choke points, simple things too, like high ground was obvious, but gridding out windows, what we do now. So I have a lot of experience. All I can tell you in the Secret Service, I can tell you candidly and honestly, is if there was more to the story, they should have told us, but they didn't. I'm not telling you that there's not. I'm just telling you they didn't tell us. I'm not going to lie to anyone, and I'm never going to smoke anyone up. I think you've seen that. People ask me hard questions. I gave them hard answers. You don't want the answer. And then when we released the material, I think a lot of people were expecting to find that. And what you see in there is a lot of kind of embarrassing stuff about what, agencies and stuff were doing. But I don't have really good answers for that. And that's why it's hard to give, it's hard to not close that book for people,
And in fairness too, I mean, again, you go in, you're gulping water. You've got a million things on your plate that are imminent. And not the least of which is your number one job is to keep we, the people, safe and secure. On top of all, I know this is all interesting. I know it's important. All of it's important. But you kind of have a day job first, and I think that becomes a rub and frustration. And then even conservatives would turn on you and cash like in 10 minutes. It wouldn't even give you a week. And, I thought Dan was going to release this and that.
That was the worst part. And that's why I tell you, like, don't over-explain, because when you understand that we had the CTD portfolio, the counterterror division was ours, and you understand the gravity of the terror threat that exists around the world every day, I'm not asking anyone for any pass. I'm not interested in that at all. I'm just telling you, like, when you're focused on your thing, whatever it may be, Crossfire and it's our, everything's our thing. But you're right. Like, I can't only do one thing. I can't be, jack of all trades, master of none. I have to be master of all trades, jack of none, because I can't screw any of these things up. So when someone would, some, loudmouth host who pretended to be my friend for years, and then the second I get in there is trashing us because this case they're interested, there wasn't an immediate arrest that day, you know, what I wanted to do was call him up and be like, hey, you know, hey, asshole, I'll give you here, I'll tell you, I'll make it real for you. I'll put muscle on the bone. Here's an actual story that happened. So I'm there about a month or so, and something had happened with the Epstein case. I don't remember what it was, but I'm in a room, that Knights of the Round Table room, like the deputy director's room. My conference room is actually bigger than Cash. He's got the nicer office, but the conference room is bigger because he talks to small groups. So I'm sitting there, and we're talking about VCAC, Violent Crimes Against Children, and we were organizing what we called Operation Restoring Justice. I got in there and I said, guys, we are going to just up the lives of these people abusing kids. So I said on Fox, like, I want to make sure if you're on a computer, you know, downloading this stuff, that knock at the door is like not Amazon. And I said, I want a nationwide effort and round these dirtbags up. And they came in and they were giving me a briefing, and some of the stuff they show you in this space, like I had to tell them no more. I can't anymore. Like I can't take
I
it.
wouldn't be able to take that either.
So we're doing this case, and we're organizing this massive roundup. We had Restoring Justice and Enduring Justice, and Cash put out a number the other day. I've been gone a few months, so we rescued something like 6,000 kids. We're putting together this op. And I'm talking to this agent from an Arizona office. She's very good. I mean, knows a ton about this. And she's telling me about this story about this 11-year-old girl being abused by the stepfather. And it's horrific. I mean, it's like there's levels. It's all horrendous. But this is like, you can't even, like, I don't even, once you hear it, you can't.
And child trafficking is so much worse than most Americans know.
Oh, it's sick. Yeah, and you can't even.
That's evil.
It's hard to hear about. Like you read the stories and it was just horrendous. And someone comes knocking on the door about like this thing about that. And I'm like, we gotta save this 11-year-old girl. Can you give it 5 minutes? And the truth is, it couldn't. Like I said, you can't be, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. You have to just master everything. Because they're waiting on you. They're waiting on you. Like Cash was at the White House or something. Like they're waiting on you. You are the focal point on these things. This happened so many times. I can't even tell you. Like I'd be dealing with, I'll give you another one. Like I had finally gotten home. I think it was December. So it was at the end of the year. I was getting ready to kind of sign out at January. And I had finally gotten home. And I get a call, and it's a Friday night, and I hadn't seen my wife in weeks. I mean, it had been a lot of weeks. And I'm sitting upstairs in this little room with a TV, and I left my phone downstairs, which was a big mistake. Like, you can never be out of pocket. And it was an accident. I just left it downstairs, that phone, and I left a work phone. And I didn't see it. I was groggy. Huge mistake. Luckily, my wife was still downstairs, and she comes running up, and she's like, damn. Like your work phone's been ringing for 5 minutes. And I'm like, shit, I forgot my work phone. So I rush and I grab it. And it was that Turtle Island Antifa front case that had just that terror attack we thwarted in LA. And it was the sit room at the White House. They don't want it. It doesn't matter if it's Friday. They don't care what you just get. And luckily, like I got on the call right away. We didn't miss anything. I hadn't even checked everybody in yet. But I'm on that call and someone's trying to break into the call with another call about another case that they were like, he's leaving right now. Like, what do you want us to do, boss? Like, are we calling? Are we doing like are we going to try to get like, are we doing a PC arrest? So I got two phones. I'm sitting out in front of my house. I got one phone in my ear like this. I got the other phone like this. And I'm trying not to put it on speaker because I don't want the phone lines to cross. And I'm like, okay, hold on. We're going to do that. And like, I think Steve Miller was talking. I'm like, okay, Steve's got this. So I put it on mute. I'm like, hey, where is he? They're like, he's in the terminal. I'm like, what do you want to do? I'm like, okay. All right, here's what we do. Get him. Like this shit would happen every day. I'm coming back from a vacation. I'm not going to say from where because I don't want to give the guy up. I'm coming back from vacation. I taken a week vacation around the holidays. I took my wife and kids to Rome and Milan. So obviously I got the detail guys with me. The detail guy, the detail leader comes up to me. He goes, "Hey boss, we got a problem." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "One of our like regionally most wanted cyber guys is on your flight home." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Move my seat right next to his ass." I'm like, "I'll watch that the whole way home."
That's a damn Bongino answer.
So I'm there with my wife's like, I'm like, he's not going to do anything, whatever. Big, like, gooey looking dude anyway. Whatever, don't worry about it. Whole way home. I mean, I had a long flight. We're flying back and, we get back into the airport and they let me off first with the security detail. So I got to tell you, it's one of my proudest moments, man. Because I had nothing to do. It wasn't my case. The guy had been wanted for a long time. But I'm walking down the runway and I sent my wife and kids out in advance. So it's just me and they're watching, but they can see it. And there's a team of really solid agents. They're sitting at the end of the runway. And I'm like, "Hey, boss." I'm like, "Hey." I'm like, "You got him, right?" They're like, "Yeah, we got him." And my wife watched that and she goes, my wife's not impressed by much. I love my wife, but my wife is like a cool customer. That's why she runs my business.
She was impressed.
My wife was like, she calls me Boo. She was like, "Hey, Boo." She goes, "I got to tell you something." She goes, "That was pretty cool." And we got that guy.
You got to see. All right. I have a few last questions. 1 to 10, 10 being the worst.
Yeah.
James Comey.
Easy. 10. Easy.
1 to 10, Christopher Wray.
Jury's still out, but definitely in that
8, 9, 10.
The only reason I say the jury's still out is because I'm not sure what was deliberate ignorance. In other words, don't tell me because I don't want to know, and what was deliberate. So the jury's still out on that.
Clapper and Brennan.
Only because 10 has to mean something. I'll give Brennan a 10 and Clapper a 9, but Clapper's probably a 10 too. But 10 has to mean something because or else the rating system doesn't mean anything.
Who else should be on that 10 list?
Stroke. Peter Stroke.
What about Page?
Yeah, I would. The fact that Stroke was a manager makes him worse. I'm telling you, they're all in that 8 to 10 band, but there's nothing like a rating system where everybody gets an A, right? You can't have that, or everybody gets a 10. I would throw, in there as well. In that band, I would put Pre-Step in there.
McCabe?
Oh, McCabe is another easy 10. I mean, McCabe is these guys.
And this is,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm sure. And the thing about McCabe, I think that McCabe would almost be like a 10.5 because what bothers me about McCabe is, listen, Sean, when Michael Milken got caught in that big financial thing, like he dedicated the rest of his life to charity.
Yeah.
There are people to this day go, "Oh, I don't care. He ripped me off and he sucks." And you're allowed to think that. But love him or hate him, he at least made an effort to correct his wrongs. This McCabe, I would watch him. I'm the deputy now. Like I'm in his office. He was the deputy. I'm now in your office. I know everything you knew. I'm watching this guy on CNN and I'm like, the freaking
you lying
hyena balls on this guy. I know he's lying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the fact that he is still like that time he comes after me. There was that DC incident where the guy had screamed like Allahu Akbar. And I was very candid with the public. I said, we are investigating this as an act of terrorism. We're not investigating it as a candy store robbery, you dipshit. The guy freaking screamed Allahu Akbar. I don't care about your euphemisms games. I'm the deputy. We're going to speak clearly with the American people. He goes, "I cannot believe they said this." I'm like, that's why you're on CNN right now and I'm not. That's why.
Funny. Well, I will say this. I mean, in a year, you did a phenomenal job. And your list, you did check off your list. I mean, 8 of the 10 most wanted as we taped this. I think when you left, we had 6 of the top 10 most wanted.
When I left,
7.
we had 4. Cash got 4 more in the last 3 months.
Crazy, right?
And I just want you to know, too, like, I saw someone tweeting about this, like, oh, you guys are just adding people, you know where they...
Joe got 4 in 4 years.
Yeah, he is not doing that. Cash doesn't put together the list. The FBI goes to a CID, Criminal Investigative Division, and says, who are the bad guys we really got to get? And then he just goes, and the team now just finds them. So that's incredible.
Everything you said you wanted to do, and things you discovered that you never wanted to see, and maybe it will come back to bite you and a lot of other people. But you did get into the pipe bomb at the RNC DNC. You did get into. You did a deep dive into the Dobbs decision. By the way, where'd the cocaine in the White House come from, Dan?
Yeah, that's one of my. I'm going to tell you. I have
a strong suspicion, but I don't want to give out names.
There is that case has turned out to be the biggest sticky wicket of all, I think, and it was, and it's a numbers game.
They only investigated 15 days, and they closed it.
We did a lot of what, trust me, folks, it is definitely not due to a lack of effort at all. We had guys busting their ass on that.
They shut that down, didn't they?
We made some really good progress on the Supreme Court case. Obviously, the pipe bomb case is ongoing. So I feel like we have a really strong suspect there. That was something I was not leaving.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, I was not going anywhere without finding that suspect.
Let me ask you this, and maybe this is, I don't know if it's a fair question or not. I'm going to ask you a final last question. That's 2 questions in one. What do you fear for this country the most? And what do you predict in terms of overall, what do you see happening for the country based on what you know on the inside, now being on the outside, that you can share?
Well, I mentioned to you before, Thor's hammer, FISA, right? The thing now is the technology for surveillance is so mind-blowing that whatever you think we can do, we can probably do more. I mean, they would come up to me every day with, we did this and that, but I'd be like, wow, good job. Like, how exactly we nailed that one down? And they'd say, we did.
By the way, your FBI contacted my lawyer.
Oh, really?
Oh, the Iranians hacked Sean's phone.
Oh, I used to make some of those. Those are called DTWs, duty to warns.
And
I had to make a few of those myself.
And the Chinese hacked his phone.
The
Russians hacked the phone.
I had to call a former person you and I may know, and had to tell a few people this, that, hey, be very careful. And the DTW calls are not easy to make because you're like, what?
Yeah.
But, I've gotten those calls now, by the way, from my own FBI guys. They've been like, hey, damn, just be careful. Like, the tools that are in possession of actors around the globe, it's not just the United States and the FBI, to surveil Sean Hannity, forget FISA for a minute, are so powerful that my fear is another Barack Obama gets in office who has no respect for the Constitution. I don't care what he tells you with his bullshit speeches and stuff. Zero respect.
I mean, when he got a presidential daily briefing, didn't like career senior intel official saying that the Russians did not interfere in 2016. So he months later says, no, I want another assessment with a different result, because that's what he did.
I could make a strong case to you that if Barack Obama, the sequel, were to get in there, whoever it is, but has that same screw civil liberties, weaponize the government, take power, do collectivist stuff, become a communist kind of thing. The surveillance tools are so powerful, Sean, they may not even need FISA. I mean, you know what no-touch malware is? No-touch malware, all I need is your cell phone. Be like, no, I got to touch something. No, you don't. I just give me your cell phone, and I'll data dump that whole thing right there.
The whole thing.
Well, here's the thing. I don't need a FISA.
So I've never turned on the cloud on this phone. Doesn't matter, does it? Mm-hmm. I added recently an encrypted app. Doesn't mean shit, right?
Depends.
On?
Depends on if the
app.
No, that's the irony of it. Like we don't have to crack the encryption.
So if I
Sean, what do you think about what you do when you do this, right? With your thumbs?
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing?
Typing.
Okay. Is your typing encrypted?
I don't have a computer. No, the typing is not encrypted. No.
Thank you.
So
if I'm watching you over your shoulder.
Oh, you could see it over my shoulder.
Okay. What if I could electronically see it over your shoulder? And I don't mean a camera over your shoulder. That's not what I'm saying. I don't have to get to your typing's unencrypted.
It could be viewed without being near me.
I'm just telling you the surveillance technology.
You're not telling me anything. You're hiding it.
Is so pervasive, potentially destructive, that if you don't have people like President Trump in charge, which this may strike the left as like, we're like, President Trump, he's a fascist and a monarch. He's extremely concerned about civil liberties because his were violated.
Oh, yeah.
He will not tolerate any of this stuff. Me and Cash put in a set of unbelievably restrictive rules about tools like that.
It's funny. Years ago, I was in Israel. I was about to interview the prime minister, Bibi.
Yeah.
And I walk in his office, threw my phone down on his desk. And I put my phone, locked it up. He goes, it's a listening device. That was back then, years ago.
It's a
like
listening
2015.
device. It's a geolocation beacon. It's a facial ID technology.
So I should be paranoid as hell. I don't have a computer on purpose.
Not with Cash and Andrew, Chris, and the president in charge. But you asked me what worries me. I'm telling you, Barack Obama, the sequel.
Is the president's phone safe?
Walker, probably the White House comms agency has a good grip on that with the president. Yeah, I mean, his phone is there's probably like whitelisted stuff and blacklisted stuff. So
was that why why would a foreign country give a shit what a talk show is saying on a phone?
Because it depends who the talk show host is talking to.
Yeah, good. It has nothing to do with me. Any prediction, any fear that you want people to know about that they don't know?
Vote like your life depends on it, because it will. Because I'm telling you on what I just said, the power of this stuff with quantum computing and AI, they will be able to crack your entire life open in minutes. And was it the Soviet who said, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. Was it Beria? Said, show me the man, I'll show you the crime.
Yeah, Russia.
Yeah, it will be so unbelievably easy to manufacture a crime if we don't vote right and get strict civil libertarians and people who respect the Constitution in there. That you think Crossfire Hurricane was bad, I'm telling you, that's going to look like an episode of like Family Ties.
I'm going to follow up more. John Solomon says there's 4 more Crossfire Hurricanes. You probably know way more about it than I do, and he's beginning to break it, and it will break soon. I could talk to you all day. Thank you for coming. Thanks for hanging out with us.
That was great.
I don't know, man.
You got a lot out of me. I was getting all choked up.
I got to get you on a Friday night when you actually have that one drink a week.
I know.
And then maybe I'll get.
Yeah, you said to me like, I said, I got to save it for date night. Paul would be pissed. That's my only thing.
Oh, okay. And I can't get in the way
But here's
of
the
that.
thing, like I only drink like.
She probably wants to ask you.
She's a wine drinker.
Yeah.
So she likes like, Opus. And,
Whoa. I got bottles of Opus. I'll bring.
Oh, she loves Opus.
Done.
She's a huge Opus. I will.
We'll make it happen.
My personal favorite, although I pay for it the next, even after like 1 or 2, because you can't. I like the Carmisi tequila. Like you ever have Carmisi?
I'm not a big tequila guy.
You shouldn't be, because I'm telling you, like, even. And I got to be careful with this, even one, because I'm very sensitive to alcohol.
Are you really?
Yeah, my mother's Irish and German. My father doesn't drink at all. I got to be like one and done for me. But Carmisi, man, that goes down so smooth.
You like it?
Oh my gosh! But yeah, Paula, I like a little red wine
too. I'm going to write this down: Carmisi, Dan Bongino, Truth Serum.
Paula wanted to come tonight.
I wish she did.
I'll tell you what: if this episode does well on YouTube,
it's going to do great.
Let's do another one in like 6 months, and let's do it on a Friday, and we'll bring Paula. She can have her wine in the corner.
We'll go straight to my favorite steakhouse right from here.
Let's do it.
All right. Dan Bongino.
That was awesome.
My brother. God bless you.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode, hanging out with me, Sean Hannity. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel so you never, ever, ever, ever miss an episode. We've got a lot more really great content coming your way. We hope you'll subscribe.